You know what? I've always had a little game in my head. How long will it take for Uncle Scumdeath to realize that he can have over 3 minutes to talk? I won't tell him the truth. I won't tell him how long he does have. I'll let him guess. Because he doesn't want to be cut
by your
off.
By your reaction, it seemed like you were waiting on that one for a while.
Yeah. It's been a while. He would always look at his clock. I think he would time it and go, "Oh, 3 minutes is coming. Okay, everybody." Yeah. That was priceless. I'll definitely have to keep that soundbite. You ever wonder what makes a great gamer? Great gaming is not only about cheering on our teammates, but also being there to pick us up when we're down.
Guardian down!
Have you ever played Destiny with a fellow Guardian and thought to yourself, I wonder what their life is like? Questions like these spark conversation, friendship, and community. We're a Destiny 2 podcast that focuses on 3 things: community, news around the gaming industry and Destiny 2, and thought-provoking topics in the game. We're Guardian Downcast. Your stories, your community, your destiny. What's up, Guardian? Welcome to episode 234 of Guardian Downcast, a Destiny podcast. I'm your host, Todd, the Gator, and I'm a Day One Guardian who loves gaming and certainly the Destiny franchise, and we talk about it. In this episode, we ask, are you a Dragon Slayer? I'll explain that later in the show. Well, today, we have another brand new guest of the show. We gamed last night, and he actually helped me finish out the seasonal story for Season of the Wish. And I really learned a lot about him, and I want to share that with you all today. Please welcome b1ackB1rd. How you doing tonight, sir?
Fantastic, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I had a good time last night. You patiently waited for me to get all the cutscenes done and got everything done, and it was a lot of fun. So thanks for helping me out with that, by the way.
Absolutely, man. Great times. And you know what? You picked me up when tightening went wrong, so fair play.
There you go. Well, in today's show, we're going to hear, of course, b1ackB1rd's story and what brought him into gaming. We'll then put him through the paces with the fastest interview in just 2 minutes with our fast fire question and answer segment we call the Speed Run, which may include some of our new additional questions that you guys added from last year. Since there's no This Week in Destiny from Bungie, and since b1ackB1rd has told me he loves Destiny lore, which I'm just getting into, we're going to have a lore segment based on the Season of the Wish that we both found very entertaining, and we're going to share that in a separate segment tonight later on. It is the book, Dragon Slayers. As always, we'll answer questions from our community, and then before we go, we're going to add some music to our Guardian Downcast show playlist on Apple Music and Spotify. The links are down in our description. Then finally, we'll have 2 drawings for our speedrun entries, whereby community members added more possible questions to our speedrun segment last year. And what better way to conclude the show than another Scumdeath's Corner? So without further ado, let's roll. Hey, thanks for listening to Guardian Downcast. There are several ways you can contact us. First, you can find us on X at Guardian_D_cast, where we also post our newly released episodes every week. Or you can find us on Instagram at Guardian_Down_cast and see what pics our podcast guests want to share with you guys. We have a brand new website. Just visit GuardianDowncast.com, where you'll find all of our contact info, leave us a voicemail, give our show a rating and review, search for any episodes, or even give back to our community. Also, don't forget to sign up for future updates to the show, where we'll also have some random drawings throughout the year, and you may win a gift card or even some GDC merch. You can also follow our Guardian Downcast shows song playlist on Spotify and Apple Music. We post those links in our show description every week, so you can follow along with us. And finally, you can send us an email at guardiandowncast@gmail.com. So check us out, and later, Guardian. Well, Mr. b1ackB1rd, how you doing, man? How you doing this week? How was your holiday, by the way?
Holiday was fantastic. Very chill, just me and the kiddos. So, that was kind of nice. And, I will say the New Year's was nice. So, me kind of getting up in age, as, you're aware. My son and I celebrated New Year's Eve by making it to midnight, which was quite the achievement for the both of us since he's only 12. So, good times, man.
Excellent, man. 12-year-old son. That's a cool age, man. They can do all kinds of neat things at that age. You know, you can share a lot of stuff.
It's about to get scary.
It will be. 13 is pretty rough. 13 to 15 is pretty rough, actually. They know everything and you know nothing. And then they turn 25 and they're like, Dad, you're right. You're right, Dad.
Right.
But you know why I know that? Because I did the same thing to my dad. My dad my dad would just grin and say, "Yep, okay, buddy. Okay. Wait till you're a dad." Yeah, exactly.
My dad told me that my son was his revenge on me. So just to give you a little insight of what I put my parents through. So I am very fearful heading into the teens.
Oh, absolutely. And my dad said the same thing to me too. He says, "Don't worry, payback's a bitch." I said, "Yeah, okay, yeah. All right. I still know everything, Dad." Okay.
That's right.
Hey, I know what we talked last night, but for our listeners here, where are you from and what do you do for a living, sir?
I am from Southern California. I'm just north of the border of San Diego County, so I'm about an hour and a half from Mexico, and I work at a Volkswagen dealership down here. I am kind of wear a lot of hats. I've been there for going on 14 years now, but the hat that I currently wear and my title is a compliance manager, so I essentially kind of go through everything and make sure everybody's doing everything right. So I play bad cop at the dealership.
I think you told me last night that you actually are the kind of the conduit between the banking and the dealership. Is that right?
Yeah. So one of my roles started out in the sales floor a lot of years ago, and moved into finance. So I was the one you love to hate when you go buy a car.
We know you.
So I got out of that, but I do still have a hand in the finance in regard to following the paperwork and the deals to the banks and ensuring that we get paid in a timely fashion as a dealership. So
I got you.
That's kind of where I play in finance nowadays.
Okay, good deal. And you probably know Sen Media then, because he's a Volkswagen manager as well.
Well, he and I are on opposing coasts. However, we do know some mutual people, and after he was on the show, we kind of got into a bit of a conversation and realized that, yeah, we know a few of the same people.
Little shop talk, right? Yeah, I can imagine.
Little shop talk.
I'd love to be on a fly on the wall in that conversation. Well, let me ask you this. Tell me a moment in your past where you began video games. Were you a late bloomer, or have you done it ever since you were young?
Well, so God, I want to say I was probably around 8 or 9, and this was the days when the original Nintendo Entertainment System was coming out. So got my hands on one of those. I had a friend down the street that had just any cartridge you could imagine. So I mean, it was kind of on. At that point, was kind of when I dipped my toes into it the earliest, and then hit my teenage years, and video games kind of went by the wayside as I got completely out of control, and ended up finding them again after a trying time in life, and kind of helped keep me out of trouble and settle me down. And at that point, it was probably around 2002, and that was when I got into the MMORPG games. So I was into Ultima. There was a game called Shadowbane that really captured my interest quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So I was into that for quite a while. Got into Final Fantasy 14 for a bit. But yeah, so that's kind of my history with it. Like I said, started back in the day, didn't really grab me, you know. Mm-hmm. It was kind of the new hotness, so I was checking it out. But later on in life, it really grabbed me, and it served me well. Are you a console or a PC gamer? Or both? I am a console gamer. Well, back in the early 2000s, I was on PC, only because that's where the MMOs were at. But yeah, nowadays I'm strictly a console gamer. There's some what's the word? There is some solace in the fact that you play on a high. I'm assuming you're on like a PS4 or PS5. PS5. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some solace about knowing that you flip it on and it's just going to work. I love. Don't get me wrong. I'm both a PC and a PlayStation 5 gamer. And when I game
on PC, there's always an update. There's always a driver needs to be installed from NVIDIA, or something comes up that I'm always up. There's just a lot of stuff to keep in track of. It's just so nice to just flip on a console and get pretty much the same quality of entertainment from it. But, there are some limitations, obviously, but, man, I really love my PS5. It works so well. I can play 120 frames at 4K in the Crucible with it. I mean, you just can't beat it. But it's a great console. Not the best.
Yeah, man, I have no complaints. I've actually I've got a PS5 here. We've got a Series S in the other room for my son.
Okay.
I've got a Switch here. So
nice. So you played them all.
But yeah, I mean, I respect the PC game. Much respect to those guys that build their own setups and deal with that. But I am a very low maintenance type of guy, and I love my self-contained little gaming apparatus there. I could just, like you said, flip on a switch and get to it. How did you find Destiny? Very funny story, actually. I like funny stories. Yeah, so I am what I believe I first heard Panda coin the term. I'm not sure if he's responsible for it, but I first heard it from him. I am a Taken tot. Okay. And
came in during the Taken King expansion. Right, gotcha.
Like right a month after it dropped. Wow. And I was actually on vacation with my family in Kauai. Mm-hmm. And one of my good buddies, I'd kept bugging, get a PS4. At the time, I was into Elder Scrolls Online. Okay. And so I'm bugging him because we always, back in the day, we're playing Morrowind and stuff like that. Old school Dungeons and Dragons nerds. And I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. You got to get into this, right? So I get a call from him while I'm in Kauai, and he said, hey, man, I got a PS4. I said, fantastic. When are we playing Elder Scrolls? Well, I didn't get that. What'd you get? I got Destiny. And at this time, right, when Destiny launched that first year, it was a little rough for him, right? And it didn't really have the best press that first year. And so I tell him, why did you get that game of all games? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, all right, fine. When I get back to Cali, I'll go ahead and grab Destiny and we'll play. Because, I mean, we've been friends for years and years and years. And it's like, I just wanted to hang, right? Because at this time we had family started. We couldn't go out there and party like the old days. So, and again, this was in October of 15. So a month after Taken King dropped, and man, immediately sucked in, just fell in love with the game. Yeah, I spent so many hours in the Dreadnought during Taken King. Definitely the best. Fantastic zone. That totally turned that game around. It really did. I mean, I'm really hard. I'm really hardcore. I was looking for Destiny, and it came out at the perfect time in my life when I was gaming. I was ready for a game like Destiny, something massive I could just dive into and get into all the worlds. And I've always loved science fiction, so it fit right in. And then just the knights and queens and the medieval type setup, that kind of class system, the way I've always liked medieval stuff too. I played Dark Tower board games when I was younger. I mean, I played a lot of that stuff. It's funny, I never got into Dungeons and Dragons. None of the friends that I had back in high school never ever even heard of it or played it. I was a band geek too. You would think I would have, I was an athlete too, but I was split, and maybe I just had the wrong friends, I guess, but never got into that game. But I am going to play Baldur's Gate so I can experience at least some of that. And having played Baldur's Gate 3, and, traditional Dungeons and Dragons, that is the closest you can get to playing tabletop. It really is. It's a fantastic game. But yeah, man, it was nice because, again, I come from the massive multiplayer online type of games where you are part of a guild, you are, it's very social, interactive type of thing. And that was an itch that was never scratched with console. Right. So getting into Destiny and immediately within a month finding a fantastic clan, which then spawned the clan that, I've been running and have been in since, a year after, because that initial clan lasted about a year. Probably 60% of them are still with me. Nice. There's only a few remaining in game. We've all grown and but the door's open for everybody, right? So finding that community after starting Destiny was such a breath of fresh air for me, because it's like, oh man, this is what I've been missing, right? Because I love that about the MMO type of a game. And it it really is a strong suit of the game. And as you were saying, as far as the setting of the game, you have that medieval flavor, but then you also get your space and laser type of flair, your science fiction type of thing. So it really has kind of every aspect of a lot of very cool things as far as high fantasy and science fiction. So, it immediately captured me.
Good to hear. What character do you play, and what's your favorite subclass?
I'm a Titan. I am a Titan. I have been. I actually started Destiny 2 vanilla as a Warlock because I wanted to try a little something different.
I think everybody does.
Well, and so for me, if you remember, which I'm sure you do, before the game launched, they had, put out some information. And I saw the Voidlock with the charged Void Grenades, Nezarec Sin. And I'm like, I really want to do a build that sounds like a lot of fun. And it was. But in my heart, I'm a Titan. I had to go back, and that's, I've been maining a Titan since Taken King for the most part, with the exception of that. Probably through Warmind, I was probably running the Warlock.
I admit the movement with Titan is very freeing after playing a Warlock for so long, and punching everything is very pleasurable. It's very appealing. I get it. I play all three, but I always go back to Warlock because I've just always liked that mage character with the spells and the mystery powers and stuff, and no one's going to touch my Nova Bomb. Right. It's just awesome. LP Soldier had a question for both of us here while we're on this topic, I guess. And he says, what is your grenade of choice? And do you need to be throwing more? Of course, I'm sure that's according to Shax.
My preferred build for the past couple of years now has been a Void Heart of Inmost Light build. And you got to go with the Vortex grenades for that.
Yeah, it's nice because
it's absolutely. I should be throwing more of them. Absolutely.
Yeah, the Vortex grenades are nice in PvP, especially PvE, especially because it just sucks all the enemies right into it. But I use two different grenades for PvE versus PvP. For PvE, I would definitely use a Vortex, for the reason I just mentioned. But PvP, I really like the. I'm doing a new player experience right now, so I know I've been experimenting with all the grenades. So it's a kind of thing where it's just been driving me nuts trying to figure out what to do.
Back before the 2.0 subclass shift, I ran a Solar Titan, and my grenade of choice there was a Thermite, which is fantastic until you hit a small variation in the ground, and the Thermite decides to go a completely different direction in which you intended.
Right.
That feels bad, but now it's definitely the Vortex.
In PvP, I use the Axiom Bolts because the reason I like Axiom Bolts is because I can overcharge them and throw them out, and they'll get people that are behind walls. It usually flushes them out, which is, for me, that's what I like. I want something that's going to flush people out of cover. They're not the most powerful in PvP, and let's face it, there's very few grenades that can one-kill somebody unless you really directly hit them. But overall, it's, for PvP, that's my grenade of choice. Is there a distinct memory back when you gamed that brings a smile to your face? It can be current. It can be somewhere in the middle or from way in your past.
I mean, any of us that have played, especially a game like this in which we game with friends and we meet new friends, on a consistent basis online in game, have, I'm sure, quite a few. But the one that really stands out to me was not long after getting into the game and forming the clan in which I was a part of in the beginning. We did just essentially kind of a newbie raid. We went into taking King's Fall, and none of us had ever raided before. Okay. And it took us probably a week and a half to get through, but man, it was one of the best times I've ever had in game because, it was a group of 6 folks that had never done this. We were all just super excited about the game because we were all fresh to it, and we had all just met each other within the last month. So It was a fantastic experience.
This was back in Taken King?
This was back in Taken King.
Probably a Crota raid or a Vault of Glass, probably. One of those. Probably.
No, this was King's Fall.
Oh, it was King's Fall. That's right. This
was King's Fall.
That was the raid. That's right.
Yeah, this was King's Fall. And I mean,
such a great raid.
probably my fondest memory of the raid. Shivy, one of my clannies, she's from Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know, I don't know what the encounter is technically called, but I'm sure everybody knows it as the Wall of Dicks.
Oh yeah, jumping puzzle.
And she could not game. She was laughing so hard at everybody getting blown off that wall. It was hilarious.
It's definitely a comical break from the boss fights, that's for sure. Yeah, I did my first drunk raid with Blueberry Lounge, and that was I mean, by the time I got to Golgoroth, I was already buzzing big time, and by the time I got to the jumping puzzle, it was interesting to say the least.
Oh, I can only imagine how that jumping.
Oh my God, it was. I never laughed so hard raiding. It was just so much fun, man. It was so much fun. How did you find our Guardian Downcast community? What brought you here, man?
Just kind of, well, and as I've, mentioned, I'm a desk jockey. I work in an office all day, but fortunately I have an office to myself. And,
nice.
So I can just kind of put on either music or podcasts. And, one day I was looking for a new Destiny podcast and just kind of randomly happened upon you guys and got sucked right in.
Thanks,
and I think, I think I joined the Discord after I listened to the first episode, it's big for me because I'm naturally introverted. You know what I mean? I like running with people I know, my clannies, my family, my friends, and
totally get it.
So it was a big step for me, man. And like right out of the gate, I just kind of stepped out of my own shadow and was like, all right, let's go. Let's jump in. Let's meet some folks, and great time, man. Just fantastic community that you've built here, and
Thanks.
Lots of great people. And I had a blast. And I think, like I'd mentioned to you, the second Ron raid I ran with the community, we ran together. We were running that last.
Yeah, that's right.
That left side on the Nezzy together. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we worked together well. Yeah. And when people join our community, I get one of two reactions. They either leave right away because they get inundated with welcomes. They're not used to that from Discords, I guess, which is a shame because it is a community. Or they're like, wow, they're taken back. They're like, I can't believe all these people welcome me. That's awesome. And, right now it's after the holidays. There's a little bit of a lull. I think everyone is kind of doing their own thing right now. And usually the Discord activity is a little bit less than normal. And that's fine. It's no big deal. I think everybody deals with this. Even the game servers, I'm sure, get a little light this time of year, no matter what game you're playing. But the one thing I love is our moderation team just jumps right in there and welcomes everyone, whether it's Hades from across the pond in the UK, or whether it's Commando, which is down in Southern Cal with you, or it could be even Moonshine or Warcry from North Carolina. I mean, Scarlet KM jumps in there a lot too. Ronan Redline. I mean, we have so many good people in our Discord that just want to help people. So not trying to plug the Discord or anything, but I'm just saying I'm really happy. The Discord's been an awesome place to hang out.
I mean, honestly, in my opinion, no plugging required. There are, let's just say as good as the community is that you've built here with Guardian Down, there's a flip side to that coin. Let's just say there are groups that are nowhere near as welcoming or helpful.
That's too bad. That's too bad.
It is.
Yeah. See, Warcry and I have a history. We used to actually run they called them forums back there. We didn't have Discords.
Mm-hmm.
And we had forums. We had forum sites. I don't remember what brand it was. It was, I can't remember, but Warcry was one of the founders. I was just one of the mods. I was just helping them out. And we would try to welcome everyone we could, but there would be days when people would join and no one would say anything. It was just, I don't know. So that's why I really try to tell everyone who's in our Discord, feel free to say hello. Welcome, welcome to the Discord. What do you got to lose? I mean, you know what I'm saying? So, real important question I have to ask you here, Blackbird. This may affect things going forward. Dude, do you, how do I say this? Do you do bounties?
I do bounty.
My man.
Now, that being said, I will grab a bounty, and if it so happens to work with the weapons I'm using or the activities that I'm doing, so be it. I'm not going to change up what I plan on doing or plan on using to fulfill said bounty.
That's fine too, because they're not that expensive to buy. 250 Glimmer. I mean, come on.
Yeah, we're swimming in Glimmer. And I mean, especially if you're pushing to get through that battle pass, why not?
Sure. It's free XP. I mean, it's a minimum 3,000 XP. Minimum. That's like the repeatable bounties. I don't suggest getting those. They're very expensive. 3,000 Glimmer for 3,000 XP. I don't know if the trade-off's there, but you'll get 6,000 plus, depending on what ghost mods you have, for just 250 Glimmer bounty. It's a no-brainer. And if you get them done, great. If they don't, bad thing. If you don't get them done, I mean, I've said this before. I don't like that they expire. I don't like that FOMO element. If you buy a bounty, it should be yours until you complete it. And then finally, if you just don't get it done, then just delete it. That's the way Destiny 1 was. But I won't go there. I'll stay on topic. Stay on target.
For me, it's never a bad thing when you just take the time to grab some bounties, and at the end of your gaming session, you just go ahead and cash in on a pile of XP.
People will poo-poo bounties, but I hate to tell you, but that's how this game is built. This game is built on bounties. Whether it's a seasonal challenge or one of your quests or whatever, they all provide XP, and they're all things you have to do to get XP. So we all do bounties. We just don't know if we call them formally bounties or not. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let me ask you this. What activities do you prefer to do and most enjoy when you play Destiny 2?
I am a PvE gamer. Man, I suck something fierce at PvP. That being said,
I have a podcast you should probably listen to about that.
Probably should. That being said, I have had some fantastic times in PvP, and again, with anything else, it's the company that you share. Yeah. So even getting my ass handed to me, I've had some really good times. But I've always, and as you know, I'm coming off of a break in the game. Mm-hmm. I've been away for about a season and a half or so, but even while I'm gone, I'm always keeping track of the goings on and whatnot. And even since Destiny, the original game, I've been fascinated with time to kill and this, that, and the other. So there's a lot I know about PvP. It's just, I have not put forth the effort and the time to capitalize on the knowledge that I have. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Yeah, strictly PvE gamer for the most part.
So what do you say PvE? Are you doing raids, dungeons, strikes, patrols? What's your main activity you jump in and enjoy the most?
I'm a glutton for punishment, man. I like getting my ass handed to me. So typically, season after season, me and a couple of my clanmates will go for GMs, and
okay.
We'll hit the exotic quests. We'll hit the legend exotic quests and stuff of that nature. And if we ever get, 6 of us together, then we'll go ahead and hit the raids. And that's usually what we're into. We're on that GM grind right now.
I hear you, man. I'm getting there. I've been working on some content I'm working on the side right now. It's taking my time away from it, but I'm definitely going to do something. I mean, what's great is we have 6 months to just chill out.
You're not going to run out of time.
We can try things we don't normally try because the seasons are so long. It's really not. Absolutely. It's actually a blessing in disguise that we have this big break. I really am enjoying it. So, we have some questions from our community. I put a request out there to our community, and they responded in kind. They had some questions for you. So we'll start with Mr. Danger Powers 939. Question for the terror that flaps in the night. Which do you think has the better lore, Warhammer or Destiny?
Oh, man, that's not fair.
I couldn't tell you about Warhammer.
Okay. You know what? They're both good in their own ways. Okay. The writing and the questions left unanswered with Destiny, how they've strung us along for quite some time and kind of give us crumbs here and there.
They
do, and they do a fantastic job at it. So I think in that respect, Destiny's is done very well. It's hard. If you ever get the opportunity to look into the lore of 40K, It is the darkest, most wild, random stuff that you'll ever. I mean, it's completely outlandish, and it's definitely it's worth dipping your toe into at the very slightest just to see what kind of stuff's going on in that world.
Okay, good to know. Ronan Redline has a question for you. Question for the crafty avian. Which anime spacecraft would you most like to see a Destiny jump ship themed after, and why? And more generally, and for Gator, what science fiction spacecraft would you pick? Okay.
That's a good one.
I'll tell you what mine is while you think about it. Mine is the Rocinante, the Rocinante from The Expanse. Because in that,
I think I've seen that.
Oh, you've not seen The Expanse? Oh, Laz will crucify you.
I don't think so. Oh, no.
It was James Corey, I think, who made this. And it's a series, I think it was on, gosh, I'm trying to think here. I think it was Prime Video, Amazon Prime Video. But the Rocinante, they actually showed the core of the ship with a name on it. It had a lot of history to it, the way they even got the ship to begin with. And then there were a lot of scenes where there were a lot of ship battles in that series. And
really?
There was a lot of great ship.
It's called The Expanse, huh?
The Expanse. I think it's 3 seasons. They finally ended it.
Show.
After 3. Oh, if you like sci-fi, you got to watch The Expanse. It was well done. I thought it was well done anyway.
I have made a note of it, sir. Always on the lookout for good stuff.
What would you say is yours again?
So there's an anime from the 80s called Harlock. Was it Space Pirate Captain Harlock? And his flagship is called the Arcadia, and it's
okay.
Think of it as it's a massive capital ship, and on the front it's got a blunt nose. It's a massive Jolly Roger.
Okay.
I am all into that.
Nice. I have a question here from I Just Kill Things Nico. Question for the Blackest of Birds. How would you compare loot drops between Destiny 2 and The Division 2? Which one has it better?
Oh my God. Nowadays it's very similar. You're just swimming in it. I mean, so think of the inventory space problems that you have in this game, and I have gotten to, I mean, it's very similar. It rains loot in both games.
I'm trying to remember. I played Division 2. I'm just trying to remember, how many slots do you have to hold gear in Division 2 if you're maxed out? You remember?
I'm trying to remember in the vault. I believe Destiny 2 has more vault space.
600 spaces in Destiny 2.
Yeah, I want to say, oh man, I don't know. This would be a guess, but I'm thinking it's
half that, or
a few hundred maybe.
Okay, half that then. Okay.
Might be
fair.
more.
Okay.
But the problem is the same in both games.
Yeah, I know. Believe me. My vault is at $5.99 right now. And I had to delete a weapon just so I can move things between my characters. It's pitiful.
And quite honestly, I don't think it's a vault problem. I think it's a hoarding problem.
Probably. But you know why? I tell you, you know who has hoarding problems better? Or, I mean, I should say who has hoarding problems worse are the PvP players that play PvE, because we'll get weapons that we know we want to use in PvE, but the sandbox is always changing. And weapon perks that are on one weapon may be trash one season, and the next season may be just totally just dominate the sandbox. So that's the reason we hoard so much. But
well, and then for all of you that run multiple characters.
Yeah, oh, of course.
I don't know how you do it. I struggle with vault space just running one character.
Yeah, I've got a lot of armor that I got to go through. That's 1600 power that I haven't powered up. They're really good. It's really great rolled armor, but I haven't used it yet in my builds. And when you get a spiky roll like that, it's just hard to throw that away because they're far and few between, you know? So
right.
Punch and Panda has a question. Question for the Birdman. What is your favorite gaming moment or memory? Gator 2, I suppose. I mentioned mine last week, I think. That was a question we got last week. Mine was when I rezzed my Solar Warlock when everyone was dead at the Oryx, the final encounter, and Oryx had a sliver of health. And I rezzed and came back to life before the timer went. And I think I hit a couple sniper shots in Oryx, and game over. Everyone came back to life and got their loot. So,
ooh, that's a hero moment right there.
Yep. Can't forget those.
That's a hero moment right there. I mean, I recounted a really fond memory that I have in Destiny with that newbie raid that we had.
Yeah, that's right.
But, I mean, too many to count. I mean, in other games, let's pick one from the past. Okay. So, and I don't know if anybody knows this game, but it was a game that I mentioned that I played back in the early 2000s called Shadowbane. And it was a completely sandbox driven MMO in that the entirety of the gaming world
right.
Was essentially run by guilds, and they would control cities and lands. And the premise of that was to bane another guild's tree of life in their city, which was essentially the center of their city.
Okay. And
you would be able to set the bane to go off at any time you wanted to. So a lot of people would do it, like say, we're a West Coast guild. They would do it for like 3 or 4 in the morning our time. And if you didn't have people show up for it, your city got sacked and you lost all your shit. So there were quite a few moments during that. There was a server war in that game for the better part of a month that was pretty wild. So that was a pretty fun gaming experience. You don't see anything like that.
You don't. Not
really. Very, very much anymore. The gaming back then was a lot different today.
Right.
For instance, you could take a character to max level and find out, I kind of wish I would have done a little bit different on that build. And there was no respecking. You started over.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It was very punishing.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Much more punishing than today. Well, it's the times, I guess. One more question for you here, and this is from Moose, Baron of Hot Takes. Question for the Armored Bird. What was your favorite fight in Armored Core 6? Mine is probably one of the Rusty fights.
So that game, as Moose knows, you have to play through it 3 times to see everything. And as far as like new game pluses go, they did a phenomenal job of giving you incentive to want to play through it again. Usually with a game, I see it once, I get the story, I'm done, I'm gone. I might revisit it, after some time has gone by. But this game, I knocked out 3 playthroughs back to back to back. And I can't remember the name of the boss. I know Moose knows who I'm talking about. There were 3 different end bosses, and there was one that had this massive laser sword that was a pain in the ass to get out of the way of. And that was probably my favorite fight, just because it was a very, very challenging. I was on that for a bit. That being said, when you start that game, there was a gatekeeper. And God, I can't remember what this guy's name was either. But essentially, when Armored Core came out, a lot of people just gave up on this fight. He was your traditional Souls-like type of gatekeeper boss. And he kicked a lot of people's asses for a lot of days. And I finally got by him 20 attempts at him with just a random life. So that was a really good fight as well.
Nice. Okay. A few signature questions before we head out here. Do you have any hobbies other than gaming?
Nowadays, not really. I hang out with when I have him, and we're usually gaming, so lately he and I have gotten back into Pokemon Scarlet and Violet with a few of our friends, so we've been kind of on that grind a bit, but we try to find games that we can play together. Other than that, I work so many hours and whatnot that we just kind of hang out. I mean, we try to go to concerts and events when we can, but other than that, man, I'm a homebody. When I don't have my son, I'm playing games, and when I do have him, we either out at the park or one of his events, whether it be, he plays 3 instruments, so it could be something like that, or
nice.
He's usually into football. So,
very nice.
Yeah, man, just living that dad life and gaming when I can.
Well, I mean, gaming itself is an enormous hobby. Look at all we have to play.
Especially with a live service.
Absolutely. There's so many of them now. We talked about that last week with Fluffy Fingers about all the live services out there. I did not know there were that many. My God. Anyway.
Well, and what did Bungie say that they wanted? I haven't heard it, but there was a time that they were Destiny to a lifestyle game. Do you remember that?
A lifestyle game?
Yeah, you remember that? They wanted to essentially be a hobby.
Well, yeah, they definitely wanted it to be a hobby game. They've said that multiple times over the years. Yeah, it certainly has been for me. I mean, it's just about all I play. Anytime I have any spare time, it's usually there's something I want to get done on Destiny too. So this break will be nice because then I have, I think 2 other games lined up right now that I need to finish. One is Starfield and the other is, 3. Shoot. Yeah. Starfield. I want to play the new, Baldur's Gate 3 and the Cyberpunk 2077.
Fantastic game.
Yeah,
it's come a long way from where it launched, and The Phantom Liberty DLC is phenomenal. Super good game. And it's always good to take a break. And especially, I'm saying this, I've just come off of a pretty substantial Destiny 2 break. And dude, 23 was a banger of a year for games.
That's what I hear.
You're doing yourself a disservice by not checking some of these things out.
Okay. I hear you, man. I have to ask, man. Dude, what's up with that gamertag, Blackbird? I don't get it.
So, couple things kind of went into that. So that gamertag came about in Call of Duty Black Ops 2. I had played that with my cousin and a few friends. And so when I was younger, as I previously kind of alluded to, let's just say I paid the price. And in my vacation from society, I was at a conservation camp up in the San Bernardino Mountains, up near Crestline and Lake Silverwood.
Okay.
Pine forest, beautiful place, a lot of wildlife. And one day I had somebody find a bird that was pushed out of a nest, right? A little chick. And I don't recall the particulars about it, but I sing back to her. And it was a blackbird.
Okay.
And I continually had people bringing me birds that they would find on the ground, right? Because these tall pine trees. And a lot of times, if a mama bird can't take care of the birds that she has in the nest, one's got to go. The runt's got to go. So I would get these things brought to me, and I would be nursing birds back to health. Blackbirds, finches, I had an oriole once, not the East Coast kind of orioles that are orange and black, but she was a really pretty yellow and like silver wing and stuff like that. But the majority of these birds were blackbirds, and everybody would call me the Birdman. So that coupled with the fact that when I was younger, very much into planes and aviation, I wanted to fly the Blackbird.
The SR-22.
I wanted to fly the fastest thing that we had. That SR-71, put me in that black, strap me in, and shoot me out.
Nice.
That dream never happened, of course, but that's where that came from.
Okay.
So that's kind of where Blackbird comes from.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay. I understand. Let me ask you, do you have a motto or mantra that you live by in life?
I mean, other than the golden rule,
right.
Treat others as you want to be treated. Having gone through, trials and tribulations in my youth, as I said, very introverted. And I was always a glass half empty type of guy in my youth, and especially with some of the struggles that I've been through and whatnot. So I've made a concerted effort to look for silver linings, right? See the positive. And it's good, man. And it's not necessarily a mantra or saying, but, just look for the positive. It makes everything easier and better. And it's infectious, just like negativity is infectious. That positivity is infectious. It just makes everything a little easier, a little better. And that's not to say you're not going to be down at some point, but if you have a positive outlook, it's a whole lot easier to climb out of that.
Did you want to go into those trials and tribulations, or you want to keep that to yourself?
Just foolish youth, wild teenage years in a band, and drugs and alcohol, and
sure,
all of the all of the problems that come with those. So
I hear you.
My son was a godsend. I was doing what I needed to do. In a lot of ways, it was just going through the motions. So when I became a father, that gave me a purpose and a reason, and it helped change my outlook on a lot of things. So
very nice. Well, I'll finish with this question. What's one thing about you that our community may not know about you?
I kind of had this conversation a bit with Ronan Red Lion after he was on the show. For a time, I was a kickboxing instructor. I taught Savate and Muay Thai. And my instructor was the striking coach for a guy named Mark Hall that fought in the first, I believe he was in UFC 2 and UFC 3 back in the day.
I know that person, yes.
Yeah.
Very nice.
If you ever saw the guy that fought the sumo wrestler, that's Mark Hall.
Wow. Oh, my son knows him. I know my son loves that guy.
Well,
Wow.
But yeah, those were back in the UFC days in which it was style versus style.
Yeah, it was, yeah, exactly. It was very, lopsided sometimes. I remember those early fights, man. They were entertaining as hell, though.
They were
You get this
wild.
one guy would just windmill and get exhausted and just get punched out. Oh, it was brutal.
They were wild.
They were, man.
Yeah, I mean, I did that for a lot of years, and it was good times, a lot of fun.
Very cool. Very nice. Well, excellent. Well, Blackbird, thank you for sharing your life with us tonight, brother. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
Well, that means it's time for the speed run, and we'll do that right after we return.
Call the Praxic Order, call the Thanatonauts, the Jinsen Scribes, call everyone so they can witness you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this segment is called the speed run. This is where I have a database of over 800 possible questions for our guest, and Blackbird here will have 2 minutes to answer as many questions as he can. These are short 1 or 2 word answers, and at the end of the year, the guest with the most answer will win a prize and title of 2024 Speedrun Champion. The questions are custom curated by me, so no one can memorize the order. Just quickly answer what comes to mind. Tonight, I'm going to read the questions from my list, and my trusty phone will help me with the timer, which I'm setting up right now. I just want to mention that Sen Media was our 2023 Speedrun Champ. I believe he already has the title, the extra roll title, in his profile on our Discord server, so congratulations, sir. Kind of apropos that it happened on the night that you're here. And, yeah, I'll be getting some stuff out to him very soon. So since this is our first entry into the speedrun this year, you will be our leader for at least 1 week. So that's a good thing.
I'll take it.
We'll hear the D-Rez song from Tron when the contest is over. All right.
Nice.
Are you ready, Mr. Blackbird?
Yes, sir.
Here we go. I'll count you down. 3, 2, 1. Warlock, Titan, or Hunter?
Titan.
Hand towels or air dryer?
Hand towels.
Void, solar arc, or stasis, or strand?
Void.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Cali.
Spicy foods, yes or no?
Yes.
Controller or mouse and keyboard?
Controller.
Hand cannon or pulse rifle?
Hand cannon.
Strikes, Crucible, or Gambit?
Strikes.
Are you an AMC Stubbs member?
Nope.
Sword or shield?
Sword.
If you could choose, who would voice your ghost?
Sam Jackson.
White or wheat?
White.
Human, awoken, or exo?
Exo.
Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Is Scum Death your uncle?
Hell yeah.
What's your favorite Destiny planet?
Venus.
Cheez-Its or Goldfish?
Goldfish.
Fallen Vex or Hive?
Hive.
Have you ever been to the Lighthouse?
Nope.
What's the best sandwich?
PB&J.
What armor slot do you use as an exotic?
Chest.
Suspend or freeze?
Freeze.
Ikora Cater Zavala.
Cade.
Is it football or soccer?
Football.
What number am I thinking of?
7.
Ikora, Marasov, or Eris?
Marasov.
What's your favorite word?
Fuck.
Destiny 2 seasonal events, yes or no?
Sure.
What's one thing you own that needs to be thrown out?
Shoes.
What's the worst job you've ever had?
Fast food.
Resolution or frames?
Resolution.
Do you have a tattoo?
Yep.
Best movie candy?
Goobers.
Favorite drink?
Coke.
Iron Banner or Iron Banana?
Banana.
Solo or fire team?
Fire team.
Gas, electric, or diesel?
Gas.
Can you drive a stick shift?
Yep.
Xbox, PC, or PlayStation?
PlayStation.
Do aliens exist?
Hell yeah.
Favorite music genre?
Metal.
Star Trek or Star Wars?
Wars.
Which is... That thing scared the hell out of me.
Glad I'm not the only one.
Oh my God, that was loud. Sorry, man. Sorry, listeners. That was fun. I'm going to read this last one since I interrupted me. Which is worse, supplicants or exploder shanks?
Oh God, supplicants.
All right, very nice. Well, you got, it's a good start. You got a solid start. You had 43 correct tonight.
We'll take it.
And the number was 12.
Oh, damn it.
Sorry. It changes every week, so no one's ever going to guess it. If they guessed it, I will be shocked. But
if they guess it, they should get a couple bonus answers.
Oh, absolutely. They'll get a 10-second countdown. How about that?
There you go.
I'll add 10 seconds to the end.
You heard it here, folks.
Good job, man. Good job. Good way to start the 2024 year, man. That's good. All right. Well, hey, listeners, do you have a great speedrun question for our next year's segment? If that's a yes, join our Discord and enter them in our Speedrun Question Ideas channel. I believe it's called Speedrun Entries for 2025. We'll add them to next year's speedrun. Just remember they need to be yes or no, 1 or 2 word answers. Either or questions will also be accepted. And don't forget what's your favorite. At the end of the year, we're going to have 2 drawings for a $25 gift card of your choice. And you can enter up to 5 questions to go into that very drawing. So let's hear them. Let's see what you guys got for next year. Also, at the end of the year, at the end of the show tonight, we're going to have those 2 drawings for our 2023 entries. So stay tuned for that. Also, if you're enjoying what you've heard so far in our little show and know someone who plays Destiny, hey, do us a favor. We don't do any advertising or anything. Share the show with them. All the links are down in our show description, right down there in those show notes, down below the podcast here. And, or you can go to guardiandowncast.com and hit review. And send us a review, send people the link to our website. Either way, it'll be great. All right, since we do not have a TWAP tonight, I'm really looking forward to this, man. We are going to do a lore book reading from the actual game. It is in the game, and the book is Dragon Slayers. I can't wait. We're going to get into that right after this.
Howdy folks, this is MC Squared and you're listening to Guardian Downcast.
The thing I've thought about when it comes to lore, and I'll be the first to admit, I'm very much a novice when it comes to lore in Destiny. And I think you were telling me, Blackbird, that you were big into Destiny in Destiny 1. Man, that was very, very difficult to get into lore in Destiny 1 because it was not very accessible. You had to go to the website and then you had to find a hidden ghost to even unlock the lore. What do you remember from Destiny 1 lore? Was it as difficult as or am I just exaggerating?
And no, you're not it's a lot more readily available game. And I think a lot of us that played the first game, speak of it with a kind of reverence, in that it was so different than a lot of the things that we played before. And it just had this intangible, right? It had something special that you really couldn't grasp. And to me, part of that was the lore because it wasn't so readily available. It was essentially, I'm questing on my own, right? It's nothing that the game is providing me to do for loot. I want to know more about this and I have to go find it, and anybody that, was on, Oryx's ship searching out those calcified fragments knows that a lot of that lore was really tricky to come by.
I only got it because
really worth it.
I only got it because I wanted the exotic swords. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's all I cared about, but I never knew that. Anyway, there was just so much lore in Destiny 1 that, I'm a day one Guardian and I'm even a pre-player. I actually played during the beta when it first came out. And, it's a shame. I have a lot of catching up to do. Let's just leave it at that. But since we have a 6-month little bit of a time before the final expansion for Destiny 2 or the next expansion for Destiny 2, the final shape comes out in June 4th, by the way, June 4th, Tuesday is when that comes out. So put it on your calendars. But I said, you know what? This might be the perfect time to jump into lore. And the reason what I've found, Blackbird, is by reading some of these books that are in game, and I've completed the triumphs and unlocked all the books, is it doesn't really ruin the seasonal story. I was worried it would ruin the seasonal story. It'd tell us something about the seasonal story that we didn't know and would maybe ruin the story, especially if we didn't complete the story yet. So I wanted to reiterate that this is, from the Dusk and Dawn section of the lore. It's the 3rd row over. It's the very last book called Dragon Slayers. And the only way you unlock this book is by completing the seasonal story of Season of the Wish, where we dealt with Riven. And I'll just start reading this first book and it'll give you all the context you need to realize what's going on. So here we go. Valus Forge's Prologue. We need not see these local administrations as challenges to the Empress's rule, Counselor Taran said to the assembled war council. In truth, they may be keeping the whole fleet from the descending into anarchy. I don't give a war beast's turd if they are, sneers Valus Tharag. This is treason. We should dispatch a legion to reestablish order. A murmur of agreement bubbled up from the assembled Cabal commanders. Empress Keitel regarded the handful of holographic blips hanging over the council table. They represented refugees from her sundered homeworld, adrift on massive starships in deep space, the remainder of their entire civilization, reduced to digital specks. And what say you, Valus Saladin? The Empress asked. We have a saying on Earth, the Iron Lord replied. There are two ways to move a war beast, with a chunk of flesh or with your fist. This situation calls for both. The assorted commanders grunted in assent. So it shall be, the Empress declared. Taran, dispatch a shipment of goods immediately, with all the luxuries included. If conservation of resources is the pretext for their authority, let's remove it. Valus Tharag, she continued, you shall be my fist. Send an echelon to guard the shipment from fallen raiders. Reassert my authority in no uncertain terms. The Empress stamped her foot lightly on the ship's deck. The matter was settled. Very well, Taran said. Our next item is, the counselor stopped mid-sentence, interrupted by a pleasant ringing octave that seemed to come from inside their own head. Everyone in the council perked up. They heard it too. They turned their attention to the closed doorway. Optus Quorix, the Empress said, her voice laced with concern. Come in. The telepathic tone dissipated. The Scion entered, her lone eye unshielded by a helmet. Gradually a series of images bloomed in the council's imaginations. The Witness, Portal, Savathun, Eris Morn, Wishing Wall, Spire, Eggs, Ahamkara, Riven. The room was gripped by tense silence. Keitel had avoided bringing up the Witness thus far because, despite their best efforts, the Cabal were helpless to breach the portal. The Empress knew that the resulting feeling of impotence made her commanders rash. They were ill-accustomed to dread. At least now they had a path forward. The Vanguard has a habit of playing with forces they cannot hope to control, Counselor Tharek muttered. The fact that we're resurrecting the Ahamkara at all is proof they can be controlled, Saladin replied coolly. Or at least eliminated. Ah yes, the Empress said. Your famed Great Hunt. If I recall, the Mythkeeper Ajta's lessons, you were integral to their extinction. Is that not so? It is, Saladin replied with reluctance. The Ahamkara were deemed too dangerous to live, so we killed them. Valus Tharag shrugged impatiently. The Cabal would have done the same. You would have tried. Saladin fired back sternly and failed. Among the Cabal, only the Psions truly understand the anathema. The rest of you would have ended up in prisons of your own making. There is nothing the Cabal cannot conquer with or without Psions, Keitel shot back. You would do well to remember that, Lord Saladin. Saladin weighed his strategic position. Of course, Empress, he deferred. My apologies. Keitel pushed forward. Tell us some tales of these wish dragons. We would be wise to study our foe. Saladin sighed inwardly. This was not a period of history he gladly recounted. As you wish. All right, that's the very first book of Dragon Slayers. Blackbird, just bringing you in here. This kind of sets the scene, right, of how all of these stories are accounted for. The rest of the books, just to let you know, are different stories that he is recounting to this war council. Isn't that right, Blackbird?
Yeah, it's a setup, and I find it very interesting that the the final words of this particular setup is "as you wish."
Well, this is the Iron Lord's tale. Lord Timur wades forward into the shallow pool that rings the islet, listening attentively to the rhythmic lapping of water. There is a gentle artifice at work here. Each step he makes, however clumsy, stirs a repeating too perfect echo of the same small noise. A recording or an isolated memory. A mimetic transmission, cued to overwrite every other sound in the vicinity. He wonders if this last poor villager to come this way wished for peace and quiet. The sound starts again. Timur turns. The Ahamkara lunges at him from the side, its glistening bulk emerging from a span of water too shallow to ever contain it. Though a shower of black-green liquid, Timur sees its wedge-shaped maw split open like a flower. Into all that displaced pond water, Timur summons Void. A row of cavitation bubbles burst along the underside of the Ahamkara in a cascading shockwave of pale violet fire. It unseams the Ahamkara at the joints, and Timur's lungs nearly cave in. What's left of the Ahamkara crawls to the edge of the islet, panting raggedly. Timur bends to slap once, experimentally, at the surface of the lake. He hears the alarm call of a bird from deeper in the trees. Closer by, he hears Lord Collivance call his name. Timur wades closer to the Ahamkara. Don't you want to know if you're right? The dragon snickers, even as it dies. Don't you want to ask me about Clovis Bray? Don't you want to know? He resents the question. I know I'm right, Timur says. But he does want to know. He wants to ask, and badly. He wants, during the entire time he waits for the creature to expire. By the end, he has to bite down on his tongue. He is seated on the bank, tipping sludge out of his boots, when Lord Collivance catches up with him. I called out to you, Lord Collivance says. His student sounds equal parts apologetic and sullen. Perhaps he wanted to fell the beast himself. I know, Lord Timur replies. I had it handled. He lets fondness warm his tone. He'll let Collivance tell the village that their great beast has been slain, and bask in the gratitude that follows. Timur's mind is already elsewhere. There is so much more important work to return to, a future to construct from nothing. Let Nerwin and her ilk obsess over their bestiaries. Did you talk to it? Lord Collivance asked. It mentioned Clovis Bray. Timur doesn't say. The taste of copper fills his mouth. No. They walk back in silence. So that concludes the third book, and this is one of the first tales that Saladin is telling the War Council, I guess on Kaido's ship, I believe. And back then, this is why I so wish that Destiny would bring back all of the stories of the Iron Lords. That seems just like such a desperate time. You know, the collapse had just happened. People were, just trying to stay alive. It was cutthroat as hell. And the Iron Lords were the only light, really, to protect the humans on Earth, right?
Yeah, and I just want to put out there that I am just getting back into this lore, so please in chat correct me if I'm wrong with any of this. However, during the time of the first Lightbearers was the time of the warlords, and many of the warlords were very selfish, out for their own good, right? Mm-hmm. The Iron Lords were a collection that took it upon themselves to be protectors, so to speak. And, as you mentioned earlier in the show, something that drew you to Destiny was the medieval aspect of yes. a lot of it. Well, here we have your typical fantasy setting. You've got essentially knights fighting dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty badass. So yeah, it was a very desperate time. And, we can hope that going forward, once the Light and Dark saga is over, perhaps with some of these episodes that are coming up, that we actually get to see some of this in game,
Yeah, and I wanted to reiterate too that if I'm mispronouncing the names of some of the characters in this story, please don't at me. I'm very new to lore. I'm reading it the best I can, and the way it's spelled the best. I'm sure it's probably said different ways, but you just suspend your disbelief there, please. This is a novice reading this stuff. But also, I just want to let everybody know, too, going forward, this does not in any way spoil the seasonal story. I just want to make sure you knew that. What we're reading here is kind of like, this is what I love about this, Blackbird. This is just kind of adds to the flavor of the season, right? It's
it's all kind of periphery, and it the thing that I really like about this collection here in Dragon Slayers is it makes callbacks to a lot of things that we may or may not have known about. For instance, this particular book here in regard to Timur and Colivance.
Right.
If you recall, in Rise of Iron, that was when Siva was introduced.
Mm-hmm.
And if you recall that story, the Iron Lords were searching for Siva, and they found it, and almost all of them died.
Yeah.
Right? Sealing what was, I believe it was Site 6 in the Cosmodrome.
Yeah, they were sealed in with Siva.
Reading this, and knowing somewhat of Timur in the history of the game, Timur essentially kind of started driving himself mad with the search for Siva. So this little tidbit here, it's kind of like, did Timur make a wish to find Site 6? Is that what they're alluding to here?
Good point.
Could be.
Yeah.
That could be how the Iron Lords actually found it.
That they don't say that in the story, so we don't know. That might have been.
Well, they don't tell you anything straight up.
Yeah.
They don't. They tell you very few things just straight up, especially with a lot of the lore. They just leave crumbs that lead to more crumbs.
Of course.
And it's cool because this particular topic hasn't even been addressed in quite some time, as far as I know. So really cool.
Not really. Yeah. That's why when you mentioned this, that you really just finished this book, and you finished the story a week before I did. So you were helping me get caught up this week. And, I had unlocked that last book by finishing the seasonal story and listening to all the dialogue and stuff. And, I read it today. I didn't want to read it last night. I was bushed. I was tired. I've been playing all night, but I sat down this afternoon and, started reading through it, and I was enthralled by these stories.
Good stuff.
It is really good story, man. I'm glad you brought this to my attention because just really good stuff. It's all just flavor text. It's all part of enhancing when you're out there killing in the name of Riven and saving her eggs, and then the cutscene in the middle of the season, which I'm not gonna tell you what it is. It's not our finest hour. I'll leave it at that. Very good cutscene. Very nice cutscene. And, you'll understand that cutscene so much better by listening to this lore tonight. So if you haven't finished the story yet, this is definitely going to add to that.
And the beauty of this stuff to me is, like you said, you're just kind of, recently started to dive in a little further into the lore. And so for somebody like you who's put in so many hours and played so often and or just kind of dipping your toes into this, like even you know what this is referencing, like, oh yeah, Clovis Bray, Siva, the Iron Lords, Rise of Iron. I know all this stuff. And so it's giving you more context. And it's really nice. I mean, even for somebody who's not into the lore, you still know kind of what it's talking about, what's going on. And the more you dive into the lore, you start seeing some of the nuances. And like I said, the first thing I thought was like, is this how the Iron Lords found Site 6, which I believe it's Site 6 in the Cosmodrome where Siva was kept.
Yep.
Is this how? Did he make a wish right here?
That's a good point. We don't know. But what I find when I'm reading this lore is it's like two hands that clasp together. There's such a beautiful overlap with these stories and with this lore over what we've played in the past and kind of what we're playing now. So yeah, I like it. Anything else on the last story?
No, I think we should move on.
All right. This is the next story that Saladin spins to the War Council and all the high-level cabal at the table. This is called The Hermit's Tale. Warlocks debate. Hunters gossip. Yeah, they do. Titans share mission-critical information. Warlocks deliberate over whether Albios's first life came before or after his resurrection in light. Did he have 5 lives or 6? Was he awoken, bringing his total to 7? Was he Exo, with an uncountable tally before his rebirth in light? What was the role of his ghost in his lives and deaths? Of the Ahamkara he dealt with? These are questions heard in hushed voices in the tower's study halls and louder on its practice fields. The hunters talk over the relics of his lives. Where is his lantern now? On blessed Io with his memorial? Sunk in his Venusian swamp? Secured in a treasure cache? At least 6 hunters have come forward with claims to the lantern's location. None have been authenticated by Albios's surviving acquaintances. The Titans honor his loss as any other diminishment in light, but to those who still remember the great hunt, his lives are a warning. Did Albios make an unwary bargain? Was his light eaten by a wish dragon? Is that Ahamkara still alive hunting for light bearers? These are questions Albios and his ghost are no longer able to answer. Those who wear the sign of the lantern bear it in honor of a warlock whose lives touch the light and as an unfading reminder of the vigilance still required of them. And that just kind of explains our characters, doesn't it, a little bit there? About what goes on in the background at the tower, right?
Putting them all in little boxes, right?
Exactly.
All just gotten typecast.
Is there anything you wanted to add on this story? It was kind of a shorter story.
So this one,
yeah.
Well, and now this one kind of piqued my interest, and I actually did a little dive on this one today because I had never heard the name Albios.
Of course, I've heard of him all the time.
So this is one of those deeper kind of rabbit holes in which I believe there's only a couple mentions of this character. This particular person was a warlock, and there is a bond, I believe, from the first game. I believe it's called The Lantern of Albios. Yeah. Okay. And the story is essentially the 5 lives of Albios. Apparently he only had 5 lives because he died on his 5th. And he went to Venus in what people kind of believe is a pilgrimage. We don't know why. It's all speculation, but apparently all he had was a lantern. And the speculation that I saw was that he was essentially putting himself through a trial to be able to have words with the Ahamkara, to have a wish granted, is kind of the speculation on this one.
Okay.
But not a whole lot on this particular character. But I mean, the way Bungie does these things, who knows? Maybe at some point next year we'll hear something about Albios, or we'll see some kind of item in regard to Albios.
Okay. Good to know. All right. Anything else on this story?
Nope, not on this one.
Okay. We got a few more here. This story is entitled The Bone Trader's Tale, and this is a good one. This really is good. I read this. I could not believe it. I said, no way. Anyway, I'll get to it. The Bone Trader's Tale. They tracked the Ahamkara to the gutted remnants of an outpost through vegetation so thick they had to abandon their sparrows and continue on foot. It was a House of Winter territory, and caution slowed their final approach to a near crawl. Rook could read Von Duven's growing frustration in the rigid line of his armored shoulders, but neither of them were willing to risk their ghosts long enough to get a full scan of the area. The Ahamkara were waiting for them at the center of a ring of moss-covered ruins, as if they'd arranged a formal meeting. It was smaller than Rook had expected, no larger than a jump ship. The creature stood unmoving in the open, spine curled into a dramatic bend, jaws agape. It looked as if it was smiling, more like a comical, preserved specimen from a warlock study than a living thing. Rook opened her mouth to ask if this was normal. Then Von Duven raised his rifle and fired in the same smooth movement, so abruptly that Rook flinched. The Ahamkara dropped to the dirt. Its serpentine coils roiled under the proximums of agony, the great beast flopping over itself in the dust. But all the while it still smiled, that toothy smile, its eyes gleaming. Finally, Von Duven strode forward with a blade and casually cleaved the thing's head from its neck. The Ahamkara's flesh began to fray and deform as it had always been an ephemeral substance. Within a minute, there was nothing left but bones. Rook kept a hand of her cannon, expecting the creature to leap to its skeletal feet for an encore. But the sizzling hiss diminished, and the bones lay still. Not much of a hunt, Rook said into the resulting silence. Every other lightbearer in the city had a dragon hunting story these days, true or otherwise. None of them went like this. Von Duven knelt in front of the skull. Make something up. Rook watched him, bemused, until the Titan took his sword and turned it over in his hands, using the hilt to hammer a few teeth loose. I thought the wish dragons were supposed to be powerful. What if the Fallen could wish for our extinction? Von Deuven said, turning over the smallest of his fangs in his fingers. That's the kind of power we're talking about. Rook looked up at the ruins around them. Wonder why nobody on our side's tried that yet. Von Deuven shrugged. Maybe they didn't do it right. Maybe the world where we win is too different from this one, and they left us behind. The thought made Rook uneasy. A lot of would-be dragon hunters were missing, vanished, as if they never existed. She thought of those light bearers scattered across 100 reflections of the same clearing, 100 impossible wishes. The Ahamkara were dwindling. What if humanity's last ticket off a doomed world was going with them? We should get some bones back to the warlocks, Rook said. Von Deuven laughed. He slipped the teeth into one of his ammunition pockets on his bandolier. Help me gather up the rest of this. This story was very sad to me, because I wonder if the wish dragons were innocent creatures. You know, it's like, I have a lot of friends that were into hunting, or really into hunting. And it was tough for me to shoot an innocent, somewhat stupid animal, you know, when I was in the woods one time. And, it just stood there and looked at me, had no clue what was coming its way. That's kind of the flashback I get when I read this story. What do you think, Blackbird?
Yeah, it could very well have been, caught off guard. And, the whole story of the Great Hunt it's kind of a bummer. I mean, it's a genocide. It's flat out a genocide. It's the extinction of a race because of the power of the wish that they granted. It was in the vanguards and Maras, and from what I've even seen, and I haven't really dived into, Ribbon was accepting of this. Why, I don't know. I haven't gotten there yet, but the Ahamkara were too dangerous to have around. And so thus began the Great Hunt. And, reading something like that is never, something that you get excited about. I would think, and especially something as, again, here we have, your high fantasy type of throwback,
right.
Type of callback. You've got, we're going out, we're hunting dragons, we're, lopping heads off with swords. It's very high fantasy, which, I'm into. And, the Ahamkara, once you really dive in, they're very interesting in that we know that there are many exotics fashioned after Ahamkara bones, right?
Right.
You've got
Ahamkara spine.
Ahamkara. You've got the sealed Ahamkara grasps. You've got, and I've read some things, and again, I would love to continue this in chat for people that, would know more than I do on this, that the Ahamkara, first of all, I believe it's in the flavor text of the Skull of Dire Ahamkara, that they break the fourth wall. They talk to us, the player in the game.
Really?
Were you aware of that, Gator?
I did
Yes, they speak to us, the player in the game. I think I have it pulled up. Let me see. If
I haven't worn it very much because it's been nerfed so badly. I'm always thinking about how powerful. Skull of Ahamkara. The Skull of Ahamkara used to be with the Nova bombs. It used to be fantastic, but they nerfed it so bad that I haven't really put it on lately. And it's just a big giant skull with opposing teeth that fits over your helmet, over a shield, over a regular helmet of a guardian. If you're to imagine this helmet.
So now get this. I'll read the last bit of the flavor text of the exotic, the Skull of Dire Ahamkara.
Okay.
I came to find you, only you, because you're special. You are from somewhere real, and together we can burn our way back there. Can't we, oh player mine?
Oh my God, he is talking to you. It is talking to you. He or she, we don't know which.
There's multiple instances from what I've heard of Ahamkara breaking the fourth wall, directly referencing us, the player, which is pretty interesting. God. And there's also things that I've read that they really didn't have a problem becoming an item that a guardian carried. They didn't have a problem being turned into a piece of armor because they would still whisper and they still existed through that equipment.
Well, I mean,
it's very interesting lore.
The last, the Witch Queen expansion, that skull that hung above Shaxx whispered to him, and everyone started singing this song. You know, remember that?
Yeah.
Savathun's song was crazy.
Yeah, the lore for the Ahamkara is deep dive. It is a rabbit hole with no end in sight, and it's very, very interesting. And it's funny too, because if you recall back when the Ahamkara were first even mentioned, the Wish Dragons, the Great Hunt, it was wide open, right? Mm-hmm. Like we're finally starting to get a lot more information on these with, you know, when they introduced Riven in The Last Wish, and now especially now in the Season of the Wish, we're getting a whole lot more context, and it's not disappointing. It's very interesting stuff.
All right, I'm on to the next story. Second to last story here. Actually, this is the last story that Lord Saladin spends to the War Council, the Cabal. This one is very interesting. My eyebrows raised a little bit after reading this today. I'll just read it and you guys tell me. Here we go. The Wise Woman's Tale. A moment, Eris called, and Wei Ning left her side to doubtlessly join some other fray. The Ahamkara carcass lay on its side, dead. At last, Eris felt her fingertips itch with the arc energy she had channeled a moment ago. She tensed, stretched, and caught her breath. It was early morning. The sun had just begun to rise over the horizon. She walked around the beast, surveying the damage they had done. They had caught it unawares, trapped it, blinded it, felled it. Eris stopped when she saw the yawning chasm in its belly. Wei Ning had made this fatal cut. Viscera had spilled out and streamed into the fresh morning light. A rib jutted from the wound, white and gleaming. Eris unsheathed her sword. She could have a trophy. Just this. Hadn't Shaxx dragged a skull twice his size back to the city? She laid the blade's edge against the creature's rib. The bone chipped her sword, and it took its due before releasing a sliver of the Ahamkara's remains. A piece of bone lay at her feet. When Eris picked it up, her vision tunneled, and she heard whispers. The bone was wet and raw and shiny. She held it between her thumb and forefinger and smiled. Holy crap. This is how she got out of the deep. This is how she was the only surviving member on the moon.
Seems to be that way. Yeah. Yeah. So
she made a wish to get out.
I don't know if it was, see, and now this is something that I haven't been able to find a definitive answer on, because it's known that Ahamkara bones whisper to their holder.
Yes.
Right.
And this is the one, by the way, that she keeps in the glowing ball she's always carrying around, right?
Right. So that's what I've read is that's, and it's for the longest time, we've all seen this, right? Everybody who's played Destiny or Destiny 2 has
I've
seen
always wondered what's in the ball
orb that she carries.
Yeah, I've always wondered where is that from?
For the longest time, it's a rock, right? We all think it's got to be something from when she was on the moon.
As Cato's,
some kind of hive artifact, right?
I remember in the very first part of Destiny 2, Cade says, "Get your rock off of my table."
Yeah. And now, we find, well, that's an Ahamkara bone. And yeah, it's from what I've read, that's how she survived the moon. That's how she escaped. She was guided along for, I believe, years.
Is that how she got her eyes too? Do you think? Because she had to. We talked about this last night. She had to make it out of the dark, right? So she couldn't see.
Yeah, I believe that she was. I'm not positive on the time frame, but I think she was there on the moon underneath after her fire team got dunked on by Crota for years, and this bone whispering to her guided her and was able to get her out alive.
Wow.
Right? It was able to get her back. Now, changing her you know, but see, and here's the thing too, is what's the trade-off, right? Because with Ahamkara, there's almost always a trade-off, and not to divulge for people who haven't finished this season's story, but that may not be the case with every Ahamkara. It seems like that's been the commentary throughout the game is, you know, you make a wish, be careful because they're going to turn it on you and you're going to pay for it somehow, right?
Right.
Which is the entire reason for the wish wall. So Mara could input her wish and give Riven less of a chance to flip it on her somehow and make her pay the price for it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, begs the question, what price did Eris pay, right?
Maybe it was losing her eyes.
Exactly. Was it her physical transformation things? But you could also take that and, well, those hive eyes ended up becoming a gift because with last season, Season of the Witch, which I'm currently playing through because I did not play.
It was a great story.
If all of that didn't happen with Eris, the way it happened, we wouldn't have been able to do what we did last season. Yep. Eris would not have been able to ascend and essentially become a hive god.
Yep.
And you know, lead to the conclusion that it's led to and put us in the position we are now. So it's funny too, because you think of, you know, during the Great Hunt, the Vanguard was slaughtering the Ahamkara and destroying the bones in a lot of, you know, in a lot of instances, but you see these Ahamkara bones all over the place. Mm-hmm. Like you mentioned, Shax has a skull hanging up behind him in the tower. You know, and
all three of our characters all have some kind of Ahamkara and some of the exotic chest pieces and helmets and arm gauntlets, and it's built in there.
So it begs the question, like, how dangerous are these things, right? Like, how many wishes have been made? Mm-hmm. Can you actually wish on the bones, or are they just influential and do they help you along? Or is the wish, you know, I gotta believe that the wish has to be stronger. If you can wish with bones, it's gotta be stronger through an actual living Aham. The power of the wish you're able to get granted. But so still a lot of questions, but yeah, I mean, I read this particular story and I think this is the one that hooked me because I read this before, like I read the rest of the book. I just happened to grab this one and read it and go, oh wow, that's an Ahamkara bone.
Yeah. This story has not even been posted on Ishtar Collective yet. It's a brand new book.
Yeah, none of this book's even on there.
Yeah, I've tried to look for it today. And outstanding. Well, let's finish up. This is Valis Forge's epilogue. As Saladin finished his final tale, he shook his head regretfully. He'd been foolish to think that the Wish Dragons were gone for good. If the past had taught him anything, it was that all things repeat in time. Empress Keitel broke the War Council's contemplative silence. Valis Forge, you said that among the Cabal, only the Scions could truly understand these dragons. As much as anyone can, Saladin replied. Then Optus Coryx shall give her opinion on the matter, she declared. All eyes turned to the slight Scion, sitting motionless at the edge of the room. The Optus stood, her head barely clearing the tabletop. The Y-shaped pupil of her eye dilated, and the palpitating of her milky facial skin slowed. Within the minds of the council members, the room seemed to dim and warm. A pleasant hum began to emanate from the walls. After a relaxing moment, a series of images surfaced in their minds. Cabal Fleet, Ahamkara, Shackles, Scion Officer, Mindscape, Goblet, Godthought, Oxa, Shackles Break, New Torah Bottle, Scion's Throne. The vision faded, and the cold steel of Keitel's flagship closed in around them once more. Valis Thrag stood up boldly. This traitor openly imagines herself on the throne, he bellowed. We should... His screech was interrupted by a spike of psychic feedback like a momentary migraine. Everyone was immediately slammed into another vision sequence. Cabal Fleet, Ahamkara, Shackles, Valis Thrag, Bargain, Mars, hive corpses burning, fallen corpses floating in space, human corpses buried in the rubble, Cabal corpses hanging, Emperor Thrag. Thrag, sagged back into a seat, stunned. The Optus struggled back into her chair and placed a small piece of moist cloth over her exposed eye. Empress Keitel swallowed hard as if fighting back nausea. Your point is made, Optus. And what point is that exactly? Asked Threg, his hand on his forehead. That we're all traitors in waiting? Exactly, Saladin calmly replied. It doesn't matter who wishes for what, or how well-meaning they are. Optus Corax understands that the Ahamkara feed off unintended consequences. That's why we started the Great Hunt in the first place. It wasn't that we couldn't trust the Ahamkara. It's that we couldn't trust ourselves. You were not Cabal, Theric fired back. Empress Keitel held up her massive hand in silence. The Optus's visions remind me of the former Evocate General, Umanroth. Thought she could control hive magic to our benefit, and it cost us our homeworld. Let us not fall into the same trap again. We will not attempt to capture the Ahamkara alive. Keitel stamped her foot on the ship's deck. It was decreed. Unfortunately, she continued, we must also protect ourselves from those who lack our forbearance. Once the witness is dealt with, the Ahamkara should return to extinction. If there is to be another great hunt, the Cabal will support it. She stamped her foot on the floor once again before standing up. The council was adjourned. As the rest of the commanders filed out, Keitel paused near Valus Forge. I know you regret the harshness of the Great Hunt and long for another solution, the Empress said. But even with the benefit of hindsight, do you see another way? Saladin shook his head in resignation. If the past had taught him anything, it was that all things repeat in time. Whew. Wow. Whew. That was emotional to read. Wow. What a story. What a lore book. So Keitel basically says, listen, I get it. I understand. I understand why you guys had the Great Hunt. They're just too dangerous to have around because the Scion showed several different things that could happen if a wish dragon had granted them a wish. And, now that Keitel understands, she'll make sure that these dragons are exterminated after we deal with the witness. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's a little wild, and it's again, just talking about the previous books and going back to the Great Hunt, which it was, again, just a straight up genocide. And then hearing that Keitel, essentially sees it the same as the Vanguard and Mara prior to the Great Hunt. And as you go through this season, there's a verse here. Optus Corax understands that the Ahamkara feed off unintended consequences.
There you go.
Now, I don't know if that's the rule. And as you play through this season, you'll see what I'm talking about, right?
Exactly.
Because we do have another Ahamkara introduced to us this season. And that doesn't seem to be the case with that Ahamkara. So maybe to the exception to a rule, but it doesn't seem to be that each Ahamkara feeds off of unintended consequences. From what I've read, it seems that the Ahamkara feed off of the power of the wish that's granted and the amount it changes reality. And again, if I'm wrong or I'm missing it here, please let me know.
Yeah, let us know. I mean, I'm totally a noob to this stuff. I have very minimal context on some of these names as far as who they are. I realize the Valuses. I understand basically who they are, but there's a lot of stuff in here that I need to look into a little deeper.
Well, this book, this book did some deep dives. Like, for instance, the Bone Trader's Tale, Von Deuven. Mm-hmm. The only reference I could find for Von Deuven, it was an audio call out in Destiny 1 at the first tower, and all it said was, Titan Von Deuven, please leave the tower immediately.
Wow.
That's it.
Jeez.
That's the only reference I found. I didn't find anything on Rook. Yeah. So, I mean, some of these things are deep dives. So, but it's a bummer in hearing this as far as what Keitel's implying to when this clutch that we're gathering of Rivens, the last clutch of Ahamkara that we know of, right? Mm-hmm. There's shapeshifters. Who knows how many are out there in secret, right? I mean, you're a shapeshifter. There's probably a pretty good chance that you're going to survive a purge. So there could be some that we don't know about, but that clutch being in danger when, again, after playing through the season, you find that it's not necessarily every dragon that will take advantage of the wish that you make. So we'll see kind of where that ends up. Hopefully it's something that Bungie introduces to us in gameplay and not just a thread that they dangle for time to come that we don't see anything from.
Yeah. I'm used to that a lot. I tell you what, I gotta give a shout out to the writers at Bungie. This is just amazing stuff that they write. And, I mentioned this several shows ago, but I've gotten the 6th edition of the lore books that Bungie puts out, the Grimoire anthologies. I'm on the 6th book, and I've been reading all these ghost stories, and they are just fantastic stories of each person's ghost. So, and I read the one about Eris today too. So very cool. Very cool, man. Well, thanks for playing along, man. Thanks for, sticking around and explaining some things to me because, like I said, I'm very much a novice to lore, but it's very interesting stuff. Now, if you all want to dive into lore and just don't know where to go, episode 20, Destiny 2 lore, what you don't know may surprise you. I had Des Raven and our space lawyer Laz on that show. So check that out. Destiny Help Desk if you want to find out more about lore. Yeah, it was a good episode. Great episode. Tons of sources where you can find lore, where to start, everything right in that one episode. So check that out. All right. We've got questions from our community, and we'll do that next. Hey, Guardians, would you like to send a question for the show to us? There are 4 ways to do it. First, you can join our Discord server at discord.gg/GuardianDownCast. There's also a join link in our show notes down below. We have Guardians from all walks of life and all over the world, from new lights to day one players to hardcore gamers. There's also a channel labeled Podcast Questions where you can type in your question for the show. So come hang out with us. You can also email us with your question at guardiandowncast@gmail.com, or we also occasionally post about our upcoming show and guest, and you can respond there with your question at Guardian_D_cast is our X handle. Finally, you can send us a voicemail with your question at guardiandowncast.com, and we might play it on the podcast. Think of it as talking with us right on the show. Thanks for listening, and later, Guardian. All right, boys and girls, this is the final segment of our show. This is where we get our questions from you guys. And this is where people have put questions into our Discord channel under podcast questions. And we have Destiny and non-Destiny questions. We're going to answer a little bit of both tonight. We're going to start out with Reon, R-E-O-N. His question for the show: when will Bungo make it so we can fly our ships either in a race or fight mode? Also, will they ever let us edit our Guardians? I'm still running around with the same goofy faces I made back in Destiny 1. Yeah, I've got some really weird characters too with like blue big foreheads and stuff. I'm like, what was I thinking when I put this together? What the heck? What do you think? You think maybe we have space, either races or dogfighting with our ships? You think they'll ever do that?
The answer to that is no. I mean, I remember, funny, I was talking to Hammer about this in chat a little bit today. The cutscene for the Taken King, like the intro scene to the Taken King. And if you recall that massive space battle, right? Oryx rolls into the solar system and Mars there in her catches. And
one of my favorite cutscenes.
That was absolutely, and that was the talk of my clan after seeing that was, oh my God, we were talking about that through Rise of Iron.
Well, I don't think they'll have, just to concur, I don't think they'll have any dogfighting modes or anything like that, because that really is Bungie's loading screen. That's all that is. It's imagery that they create probably doesn't require a whole lot, but it's our loading screen before we go anywhere, you know? So yeah, I don't see that happening, unfortunately.
I would love to see it, but yeah, I don't think that's going to happen at this point in the game. And like I was mentioning with SRL, I would love to see it come back. I don't even think we're going to get that back.
No, I don't think so either. I think, maybe in Destiny 10, who knows? You know what I'm saying? They'll finally bring it back. Yeah, the long-awaited SRL racing. We're back. Yeah, and I wish they would edit. I wish we could edit our Guardian. They do let you do that in Starfield. I know in Starfield you can go to a vendor and totally reset your character. I mean, you can redo anything. One mistake I made in Starfield is I made my character a little too plump. Wasn't very athletic looking. But I wanted a muscular guy, but when you put your character together, you have like small, medium, and large, and that's it. And
yeah.
So once I saw it, I looked like a Oompa Loompa. It was terrible. So I changed it back to more of a mid athletic type person.
It's all that time in the seat of the starship, man. Letting the ship do the work for you.
I guess so. Must have been that.
But yeah. Yeah, I mean, as far as being able to change your looks, I am very surprised that hasn't been included in the game. I mean, that's a almost kind of like an afterthought type of feature in pretty much any game where you can customize your character. So that's an odd one to me.
Yeah, yeah. I got another question here from Deflector. If you could incorporate one aspect, design, activity into Destiny that you currently enjoy in another game, what would it be?
Ooh, great question.
Well, I've already mentioned this in the past. I want them to bring back a horde mode, but like zombies, you know, where you have levels. You kill so many fallen, then the next level, some hive come at you with their witches, and then the next level, and you see how far you can go. It's just a matter of staying alive, and then you could put your builds together where you survive, and it could really get fun. You can get real creative doing that. So
that would be fantastic.
Yeah,
I would definitely be game for that. And then, I mean, there's so many ways that can go with this game. I mean, I've heard, and something I'd like to see is, something similar to, well, we mentioned, Division earlier in the cast, and the PvP in that game. Well, one of the aspects of PvP, the open world portion, is the dark zone. Something like that in Destiny 2 would be very interesting. Just a massive open world zone in which kind of anything goes.
Oh, you mean like a PvE versus PvP kind of both?
Just yep, PvE, PvP map.
I think that's Gambit.
Or I guess they call it PvEVP.
I'm just kidding.
That's never existed in this game, Gator.
Okay, never mind. Don't tell some people in their Discord that. They might get up in arms.
Hey, you know what? I miss me some Gambit Prime. I wish that was still part of the game.
I love Gambit Prime. I really did. That was when they actually put effort into it, and they were really on the track to something fun. It was a great game, man. It was so nice. I didn't care for the activity that you had to get the gear for. That was very, very bruising, but it was just very repetitive. But Gambit it's PvP involved. Every game's different, you know? That's what makes Gambit fun. If they left the role-based part of I still think it'd be cool if they had armor mods that had the old Gambit Prime stuff, you know, where you could see invaders if you were a sentry role, or you could stop the vault from being able to, you can drain moats if you stand near the vault as an invader. I mean, there are a lot of cool stuff you could do. There were perks that would make you able to kill, you know, if you were a collector, make you kill stuff faster. It was just they thought of so many great ways to play that game, and then they stripped it back. It's just so bad. It's just too bad. And
I really feel like they were on a good track, because I want to say that's when they really kind of started leaning into, we want to make this an MMO type of game.
Yeah.
And in Gambit Prime, they really started leaning into roles, and it kind of seemed like they were really starting down that track, and then they didn't, unfortunately for everybody.
Yeah. I don't see it coming back though either, unfortunately. Anyway,
no.
His Royal Highness Prince Rizniz had a question. Question for the show. What in-game character would you like to see return that isn't already coming back? Cough, cough, Cade, cough. We know Cade's coming back because he was in the preview of the final shape. So who else besides Cade would you like to see come back? That's a pretty quick question, actually. It's a tough question.
You know what? I would like to see Aphrodite come back.
Yeah. I would like to see any of the Iron Lords come back.
I think there's your Hunter Vanguard right there.
There you go. She's a feisty lady, man. She had some
pretty dope armor too. I like that armor she had.
She had great armor. Yeah, I'll go with your answer. That's a good one. That's a good one. I'll stick with that one. Any of the Iron Lords, for the record, I'll be glad to take any of those that perished but come back. And Aphrodite just walked off. She didn't really perish. She just kind of walked off in the sunset. So we don't know where she is.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I think I might have read something on it, but yeah, I think it's kind of up in the air where she went.
Was there a cutscene before Iron Banner? One of the new Iron Banners one time? Damn, I could have sworn I saw her make a return appearance. Maybe I'm thinking of something else, but anyway. Good question, Prince Riznes. Good to hear from you, dude. All right, got one here from Hades, one of our mods of our Discord. Question for the show. What's the worst enemy in in-game Destiny? His correct answer is the moths at the end, which I agree. Those are pretty damaging little creatures.
During the legendary campaign of Witch Queen, those things were a nightmare. You would just explode and have to be told by your fire team later, once the laughing died down, that you just got nailed by a moth. Yeah, that's pretty rough. I'm going to go a little outside of the box here, and it's not an enemy per se, but I'm going to go ahead and say Match Game was the worst enemy that this game has ever seen in in-game content.
If we're going that way, then I'm going to say Light Switch was the worst enemy ever. And it was always that invisible dreg that would sneak up behind you, not make a damn bit of sound, and just one hit you and you're out. And you had to start the whole thing over again. That was my worst enemy. Yeah. Light Switch. And they kind of brought it back with Chaff. They disable the radar and make you take more damage from melees. I mean, that's kind of like Light Switch. Anyway. Good question, Hades. JohnBoy2824 had a question. What's your favorite strike, new or old, and what makes it your favorite? Ooh. I'm going to say the Will of Crota because I mentioned it last week. Because you got that great grasp of Malak, fast-firing pulse rifle from that, which the new weapon in the Return of Crota raid has a pulse rifle that looks very, very similar how it acts. In fact, I saw someone using it in a video, and I'm like, that looks like the grasp of Malak with the sight and everything. It was just fantastic. So that's what I'll go. I'll go Will of Crota. I like that raid.
That's a weapon that I never got. I have never gotten a grasp of Malak.
I farmed the hell out of that strike. And even though I didn't get the exact one I want, at least I got one that would work in Crucible. But yeah.
So now we're good with Destiny and Destiny 2.
Yeah, he said it could be either one. It could be either one.
Okay. So mine is from Destiny, The Undying Mind.
Oh, that was a good one.
For you all that remember, that was on Venus, and that was the strike, I believe, that dropped the Imago loop.
Yep. I mean, so many people ran that
strike.
So many people
loved that strike.
Oh my God, some people farmed that for months before they finally got the hand cannon they wanted. Oof. I
farmed it for probably 7 or 8 hours one day straight, one sitting, and I almost got a perfect roll, but it was definitely worth my time, and I had a blast.
That's a fun raid too. I keep saying raid. It's a fun strike because it's in Venus, man. It's near the Black Garden.
I loved it, man.
Average Destiny 2 player had a question. Question for the show. What is the one thing you think or feel like you will never do in Destiny 2? For example, for me, I honestly believe I will never go flawless in trials.
I agree. I
can believe that for a lot of people. They just don't try.
Unless somebody's got a nice cozy backpack I can jump in.
Hey, dude, I played doubles with Warcry one night, not even thinking about going flawless, and I accidentally went flawless. I didn't have any backpacks. We just played together, and everything just clicked. So I already mentioned that the next time the Checkmate Trials comes back, I'm definitely going to play that solo and see if
you missed it last time, right?
I know.
Did you say that on the?
I was doing some other content. I just didn't have the time to do it. But yeah, I thought they were going to leave it, stick around for a while with it. I guess it's only coming back one time. Which, gosh,
hey, Gator, there's not a whole lot of season left. I mean, they can't be, giving us too much of a good thing.
Yeah, right. Well, it is double rewards this week. I'm thinking about jumping into Trials tomorrow. I don't know. I can't say that because my wife wants to go to IKEA tomorrow. Ugh. Pray for me.
Hey, as long as you got your Allen wrench handy, bro.
Oh my God, man. It just always means my wife wants to buy a new dining room table, and the one we have is the one we had when we were married. We got it from like a closeout furniture place, like clearance stuff, and it's so outdated. Anyway.
Yeah, it's got sentimental value though, bro.
I'm a guy, man. I can care less. If it's a table, it's smooth and it has nice, comfortable chairs. These has cushioned chairs on it. I'm like, whatever you want to do, but you're in charge of getting rid of it. I'm not chucking this stuff. I'm not hauling this stuff somewhere. So I'll call Habitat for Humanity. They'll come pick it up. I'm like, okay, then let's go look for a table, I guess.
On to IKEA you go.
Oh my God. Inu Masha. Oh boy. Okay. Inu Mash Omaru had a question. Question for the show. If we get exotic class items to return in Destiny 2, remember those in Destiny 1?
Yeah.
What would they look like and what would they do? I would have a cape, bond, or mark that would let you wield a second exotic weapon. But at the cost of this being your exotic armor piece and not having mods, just low stats. What did the host and guest think? I'll go with you first. You're the guest.
What would it look like? It would look like the New Monarchy Titan mark from the first game, which was absolutely fantastic. What would it do? I like the idea of the two exotic weapons, but that's quite the payoff. Or quite the trade-off in which you don't get an exotic armor piece and your stats are... Ooh. In the first game, they just looked good, and that's good enough for me.
It would be cool if I had like some kind of animated little mini monster for a Warlock bond. Kind of maybe a small tentacle or something that came out of it. That'd be kind of neat. I don't know how they would render that, but anyway, you asked me what I wanted. I would like it to have like third eye on everything I use because I love third eye. It's one thing I like about the Mida multi-tools. I can aim down the sights and scan around the map without having to keep bringing my sight picture out, every few seconds. So yeah, I would
Definitely
say,
nice.
If I remember correctly, the exotic, bond in Destiny 1, I believe was with the artifact system from Rise of Iron, right? I think it was tied into that. No. It was separate. It was by itself.
Yeah, the exotic class items in the first game were tied to the either New Monarchy, Dead Orbit, or FWC.
That's
they
right.
They were if I recall, they were quite long quests. They took you quite a while to get.
I think didn't they give you more XP toward the vendors? I think
they did something passive. It wasn't anything that affected. Okay. Attributes or anything ability wise, but yeah, that was, you had to rank up the factions and that took a long time, but man,
I remember those.
Some of the faction wars. Do you remember the faction ships from the first game?
Yeah, I remember
there was a New Monarchy ship that was, so good.
I collected all that stuff, man. I miss those vendors in Destiny 1 where you can go look every week at the different kinds of weapons they were showing.
Arms Day?
Yes. Mm-hmm. It was nice. No, it's just regular reset. Arms Day at the gunsmith was fun too. I missed that too, but every week at reset, I would jump on in the tower in Destiny 1. I would go look at, see what all cause you can only switch you can only switch once a week. Once you switched, you were set. So you'd look at the weapons coming up and I would be like, okay. It's Dead Orbit this week. They got some really cool stuff and some really good rules.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then even the vendors had phenomenal weapons. I remember one week that I believe Shaxx had a perfect palindrome.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Literally.
I wasn't a hand cannon user, but I did have it. I had it because it was available. It was easy to get. But I just faulted it. I might have used it a few times, but I'm just not a hand cannon.
I'm sure I still have it.
If I go back and check Destiny 1 Dim, I'm sure it's in there. I had all the weapons, man.
So, hey, as a Pulse guy, let me ask you this.
Yep.
Hawksaw. Was that your jam in the first game?
I love the fast firing pulses. They were nice.
Right on.
Yeah, I had a ton of, I'm sure if you looked right now in Destiny Item Manager for Destiny 1 under my account, there's a ton of those. And the regular Suros ones too. There were some good Suros rolls too on Arms Day. I miss
a lot of good weapons in the first game. There was a lot of good weapons in the first game.
There definitely was. Oda Yukamura has a question. Question for the show. Is Destiny played out? I honestly stopped caring for the story. Started to feel like Sunday morning cartoon villain of the week. We get a new galaxy treating evil. Beat it with no real resolution except do bounties until the next galactic threat. What can Bungie do to liven things up? Well, we just did it tonight. It's the lore, man. The backstory of this game, so many people don't know about it. And I'm just now finding out about it. And it is amazing stuff, man. It adds so much more interest to all these stories that we play out. You know, we just jump in and say, okay, what do we got to do this week? Tell me what I need to do to get my stuff, right? But if you knew the lore behind a lot of this stuff, I think it would add a lot more interest to the stories and why they were even occurring, you know?
Yeah, I agree 100%. You know, we're all drawn to this game, you know, for the environment, you know, the weapons, the play, the lore, and taking the time to really kind of dive, and I think you mentioned this before, it's character development, right? They're giving you even more, and it's especially now that we have the season that we have, through May, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, I think several months running up to June, they have some event coming. I don't know, Quest in the Light or something that they have.
A few things. I think we have Moments of Triumph coming up.
Yeah, we've got that. We've got that coming soon, I'm sure.
I think we have Solstice coming up as well, but,
yep.
I mean, I would challenge anybody that loves the game, but doesn't feel like they really have anything to do, to just pick a book. Right? Pick a book in your inventory, or even go to, I believe the site is, what is it? Ishtar?
Ishtar Collective. Yep.
Ishtar Collective.
Yep.
And just pick a topic that might seem interesting. Type in a name. Type in Cade 6.
I'll warn you, when you do that, you may look up and see that 2 hours has passed, like it has happened to me before.
Yes, it's very easily done.
But you're learning.
Well, and it's not only that, but it's just so interesting. I mean, say what you will about the game, and it does have its pitfalls, and there are a lot of things that, in my opinion, and I'm sure everybody else's, could be done differently or better. But the writing in this game is, especially in these lore books, is fantastic.
Yeah,
and, you know, having a conversation with Hammer last night, he was talking about the new the new dungeon, Warlord's Ruin.
Mm-hmm.
And just what he was telling me about the lore involved with that, the next time I run that dungeon, I'm going in with open eyes. I'm going to see that entire dungeon in a completely new light. And it's, you know, it's something that gives fresh life to the game if you allow it to do so.
Right. Yep. This is the best way I can explain lore. Think of the lore in Destiny 2, and Destiny for that matter. As you're watching a movie, someone just comes up to you and says, yeah, this guy does this guy does this, the end. Versus, let's hear why this guy has so much anguish in his life. It gives it flavor, it gives it depth. The movies that come out and do just that, just have no backstory to the characters and just say this, you know, just show you the actions, no story, they just tend to fall flat for me. That's why
they typically don't do well in general.
They don't. That's why I'm really digging the lore. So
yeah, it's such an added layer that I think is just really untapped. And that's why I said nothing in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of other people's, obviously we're all here for this game. The gunplay in this game is unmatched. Right. And, you know, finding something in a time, and I agree, you know, the seasonal model is very repetitive. They can definitely freshen it up, do some new things with it. Mm-hmm. But if you enjoy the game and you're looking for a reason, I would say look no further than the lore.
Let's do a couple fun questions before we go here. Okay, here's one from MJT2. Question for the show. What movies / shows are you most excited for in 2024?
Ooh.
Good question. Well, the one that obviously comes to mind movie-wise, which I'll probably watch 1,000,000 times, in March 1st is when it comes out at the theaters. I'll be watching it in the Dolby because I have AMC Stubs A-list. What are you guys waiting for? Come on, let's go. It's Dune 2, Dune Part 2. Cannot wait.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yep.
That first Dune movie was done so well.
It's fantastic.
How many times have you watched Dune, the new Dune movie? I've watched it 7 times.
4 or 5, I think.
I think I've watched it 6 or 7 times. Yeah. It's a great movie. And it just, the first Dune years ago in the 80s was, I mean, I guess that's what they had to work with, right?
They did their best. Yeah. But it was really hard going back sometimes.
It was kind of a little wonky a little bit. And this is just so much more serious to take, which I'm loving it, man. Because I love Dune. I watched it in the 80s when I was a kid. I love that movie. Even though it was, Sting was, I wish it. Sorry. Nostalgia.
No, man, I'm right there with you. Yeah. That's what I'm looking forward to as well.
Yeah. And, as far as shows, I know after the Super Bowl, there's going to be a whole new, spring of, all the spring shows will be coming out for the networks. And I tend to watch some of the network shows, especially if they appeal to me, but, oh man, let me think. I would say the one show I'm looking forward to, and I believe it's coming out in 2024, is House of Dragon, the second season.
Brother, we've got the same answers. I'm pretty sure it's coming out in August.
Oh, don't tease me. Oh, my summer's
I don't think it's been confirmed, but that's what I've heard.
HBO, man, when they make stuff, they make it right. They really do.
And I'm going to add another show for that, and that's going to be season 4 of The Boys.
Yes, absolutely. Is that coming out this year?
I believe so.
Oh, I can't wait. I watched the teenage version of The Boys. I can't remember what they called it, but I thought that was done well too. That was done.
That was, oh man, what was that called? I watched it as well. I liked it.
Yeah, it was good. I like that superhero kind of stuff. It's like superheroes gone bad, And these kids are learning their powers and just making such a mess of things.
I was floored when I saw The Boys because it is such a fantastic take on the superhero genre that has just dominated media for the past decade. So it was again, another kind of one of those things. It's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
The opening scene of season 1 of The Boys, it instantly hooked.
It was definitely something new, and it was bloody, and they were not afraid to show it.
They are not afraid of doing anything on that show.
It was crazy. There's another one here that I'm thinking about. Obviously Saturday Night Live's coming back, season 49. They call it 49B because of the writer's strike. They split the season in half, which just sucks, but oh well, it's the way it is. America's Got Talent. I know people laugh when I say that, but I like that show. It's called Fantasy. It's where all the judges have their own fantasy team of, not fantasy, but they have their own team of their favorites from the past. And it's like a league where they battle it out and America decides who sticks around. So yeah, looks good. There was one more but I can't find it. So I'll mention it, I'm sure, on a future show once it comes out. But yeah, good question, MJ22. Thank you, sir. Let's go one more, then we'll call it a night here. Let's see. Maximo, MCC Maximo, new member of the community. Welcome. You mentioned a speedrun questions channel on one of your episodes, but I don't see it anywhere. So here's some: pancakes or waffles, breakfast, lunch or dinner, melee or grenades, mic or no mic, iPhone or Android, Mac or PC, favorite movie, favorite animated movie, favorite superhero movie, favorite childhood toy, favorite band, use what you will or trash them all. I use them all, brother. Just depends what mood I'm in for the week. But there is a brand new, now that we have a champion crowned, there is a brand new channel now where you can put your speedrun question ideas. And there's some examples, some right there. So Maximo, there you go. Put them right there. Well, that didn't really count. Let's go with more. This is from Ronan Red Lion. Question for the show. You can have one wish granted, but it can only be something completely frivolous and not life-altering. What would you pick? Okay, frivolous. I'm good at frivolous. I can do frivolous. Okay, here's my wish. It's frivolous. No, I guess it could be life-changing. No, not really. It's frivolous. I would like to be able to eat unlimited candy and never gain weight. You could say it's frivolous, but it's frivolous because it's candy. But I've always been a candy fiend ever since I was a kid. Always loved candy. I'm sure I've told everyone my trips to 7-Eleven as a kid with a quarter in my hand, thinking I was just going to buy all these penny candies. And I'd eat half of them on the way home anyway. So, shoot, I know. I'm going to have diabetes before you know it. It's coming. But,
and you could just include that in your wish.
There you go. There's the wish. Yeah. What frivolous wish would you go for there, Blackbird?
Oh man, I don't know. I think if a wish isn't frivolous, it's not worth making.
Oh, okay.
Right?
I understand.
You need it to be life altering at that point. Otherwise, it's not a wish worth making at that point.
Okay. I'll accept that answer. All right. Fair enough. Okay. Thanks everyone for sending your questions in. Hey, don't stop. Keep putting them in there. I'm in charge of all the questions now, so I'll make sure we get your questions answered. Don't worry. If it still applies to present day Destiny or the fun questions are evergreen, let's face it, I'll make sure we get them included in the show. So keep them coming. I know that's the inside joke. Keep throwing us questions that we don't answer, right? But no, we love having questions to choose from. It's a lot of fun. So thank you for that. All right, Elmer Fudd. Take it away, sir.
Listen to the Guardian Downcast. Oh, it's a playlist. Yes. Ooh. And I've heard they've won awards for it and such.
Thank you, Mr. Fudd. Oh, by the way, I got your icy beard pic, and I did put it in our Instagram today. So check that out if you want to see this beautiful man and his heroic job where he's delivering the mail in this icy weather. I won't say where, but let's just say it's very cold where he is right now. But thank you, sir. Thank you for sending that icy beard pic. Made my day. This is the final segment of our show. This is where we pick our song for our award-winning Guardian Downcast show playlist. A little sample of what myself and our guests listen to, and we invite you to follow along and listen to it as well. Just search for Guardian Downcast show playlist on Spotify, and it's now on Apple Music as well. I'll post the links to both of those playlists down below in our show notes. We now have 1,170 songs representing all of us and all of our past guests. It's the song we've all picked since our show started back in July of 2019. So I'll start with you, Blackbird, for the 2024. What are you adding tonight, man?
I am adding a song from Avenged Sevenfold off of their album Hail to the King, and that song is Planets.
I love Avenged Sevenfold. Now, ever since he had his throat problems, has he come back? Is the sound the same?
My son and I actually saw him in October, and he could not go on because he had something going on.
Oh, no.
He had some kind of virus or whatnot. So, but it ended up working out because we got to see the opening act, Kim Dracula, Falling in Reverse. And then they rescheduled for another 2 weeks. They brought in Atreyu. Oh, so we got an extra band out of the deal, and they played a 2-hour set. It was amazing.
Oh, wow. What a way to make up your show, man. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of stuff going around right now. I've just finally got over my bug, finally. But, yeah. Good deal, man. Well, a song I chose tonight, it's funny. My wife and I heard this song on the speakers in a Hurricanes Bar and Grill. I always get their onion bacon burger. It's a heart attack waiting to happen, but I can't help myself. I just get the urge. I don't know what they're putting in their burgers, but I just am drawn to that place at least once a month. But it's a remake of an old Cure song from the 80s, and I'm an 80s kid. So after the help of Shazam, because we could not come up with a song, the song's called Love Song. And it's the remake is done by 311. If you remember, we have several of their songs in our playlist, but it's an alt rock band that started in 1988 from Omaha, Nebraska. Pretty cool. They sound nothing like it. I mean, it's just got a really cool reggae pop vibe. Such a great remake, man. It could be just as good as the Cure song from the original. So yeah, that's what I picked tonight. So check that out. I'll be adding that into the playlist this week. I wanted to mention also that if you're enjoying what you're listening today, head over to our website or whatever podcast app you use and shoot us a review. Give us some feedback to how we're doing on our show. Like I say, you can go to guardiandowncast.com and leave a review on the top button of our website, or whatever website or whatever podcast app you're using. Just hit that review. Give us some reviews. We appreciate that. A few announcements here before we go, but before we do that, we need to pick a couple people for our drawing that entered possible speedrun questions into last year's speedrun channel. So let me pull up my list real quick here. Bear with me. And Blackbird, you're going to pick the number. Okay. I need a number. We had 212 entries last year, and this is the 5 max per member. So we had several more than, 100 more than that. But I can only take your 5 entries. So I compiled the list here randomly. And Blackbird, I need a number from 1 to 212, and you're going to pick the winners, not me.
First number is going to be 31.
31 is Mystic. Twab or Twid? I actually like that question. So Mystic, you have won a $25 gift card of your choice. Not an Amazon gift card. It's whatever gift card you want. As long as I can find it on the internet, I'll send you the numbers. So let me write that down real quick here.
And Gator, we both know the answer to that question, right?
It's Twab.
Absolutely.
It's always Twab. Always Twab. Twid just does not roll off the tongue well at all. It's very bad.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Gift card. All right. And that is all thanks to our patron community, by the way, who gives every month to our community. And that's where the money comes from. It comes from those guys. I can't afford to do it. They do it. So, all right. Okay. Let me take him out of the list. Okay. I need another number from, hold on. I gotta detach all his answers. 1 to 207.
Well, let's go number 1.
Number 1 is Dimwee. Oh, God. Has Dimwee won before? Dimwee, favorite activity. Favorite activity. Okay. I like it. Let me write that
down. That's an open-ender. You like those.
I like favorite questions, man. I do. Yeah. I never give those extra weight, by the way. That just happened to be number 1. Which I don't know how that translates to German. It's probably going to be a lot less than $25. But hey, it's 25 American, okay? For the record here, guys. I mean, come on. I'm not going to pay 40 francs or whatever Anyway. Okay. Congratulations to Mystic and Dimwee. You guys are our 2 winners for our speedrun question entries for 2023. Congrats. Hey Guardians, would you like to give back to our community? If you received any value from today's podcast episode and would like to give back, head over to our website, guardiandowncast.com, and select the Patreon button to see what extra perks and benefits you can get from the several tiers of membership available. If you would like to give a one-time donation, click on our PayPal button and follow the prompts. Our community runs on our membership, and we never accept outside sponsors or advertisers. We're Guardian Downcast. Your stories, your community, your destiny. Hey, before we go, I wanted to thank all of our patrons of the show. Patron shoutouts to our upper level dungeon champion patrons. That would be Raffi, Smiter, Technical, Wicked Trinity, Deadpool 1 Merc, and Jack 4 Gigabyte Kill. A thank you to our raid boss patrons. This is our highest tier. Jealous, Frostbite, TL Tim, Amazing Taco King, not average, Amazing Taco King, Sith Daddy Fresh, and Nico, aka Jersey. Thank you all for giving back to our show. I have 3 separate things coming up for our patron community, but if you want to join our patron community, it's as low as $3 a month if you want to join. And what you get for that $3, you'll get 1 extra episode, a complete episode every month just for our patron community. I have 3 video episodes coming out very soon. I'm working on one, just finishing up one right now, but I will always have 1 extra full episode just to our Patreon community. And Blackbird, like I was talking to you earlier, man, you need to cut and paste that RSS. You get your own RSS feed link. You just go to whatever podcast app you use, and there's support on the webpage that'll tell you where to go and cut and paste it. And once you do that, every time the Patreon episode comes out, boom, it goes right to your podcast app of choice. So yeah, check that out. So thank you all, everyone who contributes to the show and community. I really appreciate it. I really do. Before I go, I want to announce again that we're having our very first Guardian Downcast Roundtable Edition. As I mentioned last week, we're trying some new stuff out. And this basically is where we bring in myself, a co-host, and a third member of our community that each bring in a gaming story. Could be anything around the gaming world, Destiny, social media, anything that's going on in our culture that we are always around. And we talk about it. Actually, our first Guardian Downcast Roundtable Edition episode will be in February. Not very far off at all. Our very first one. I've already booked our 2 guests or co-host. And, we're already set for that one. But if you want to be on that episode, it's open to anyone. If you're in our Discord, go to submit your stories. It's under the pod section of our Discord. Submit a story or an idea or something you want to talk about, and I'll save it. And if it's something I really like, I'll possibly be on our future shows. So let's hear your stories, and we'll see what we can do. A quick shout out to all of our awesome mods in our Discord. If you join our Discord and have a question about anything at all in our Discord as far as joining the clans, any question you have about the 100.io bot, any of that stuff, trying to find a game, just at community moderation, and they will be glad to help you out. They donate their time, so please be patient. They do this for the love of the community. So thank you, all of our mods in the community. I appreciate that. Well, that's a wrap. Another episode in our collection. For our listeners out there, we have 233 other episodes. Man, last week's show with Fluffy was really good. We had really good conversation last week about how gaming has changed, and we got some good stuff out of that. So check that out if you haven't already. I have a podcast, the Destiny Help Desk. I just mentioned earlier we had a lore episode 20 from our lore readings tonight. And I talk about all things in the Destiny universe and it's more of a deep dive on subject in the Destiny universe. So if you're subscribed to this podcast right now, what are you waiting for? Jump over there and subscribe to the Destiny Help Desk. I really want to put a lot of effort and time in this year. I really want to get it cranking. So please support it and listen to it. And more importantly, give me some feedback of what you think of the show. There's actually a separate Destiny Help Desk feedback channel in our Discord as well, where you can let me know what you think. Mr. Blackbird, thanks for coming on the show tonight, man. It's really a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, it's been a real chill hang tonight. I've been just real relaxed tonight. And thanks again for helping me out on the story last night. It gave us some time to talk and reflect on what we want to talk about in the show. And man, I thought we did really well. I thought it turned out really nice. Yeah.
My pleasure, man. Really enjoyed it.
Excellent. Well, do you want to give a shout out to anyone, your clan or anything like that, or let people know where they can find you in the Discord? The floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to my clan, Rebel Collective. You guys all know who you are. Shout out to my kiddo, Damien. Love you, buddy.
What's up, Damien? All right. Cool deal, man. Well, thanks again. Well, before we go, as promised, we have a Scumdeath Corner tonight. Uncle Scumdeath, what's going on in the UK today, brother?
Hello, welcome to Scumdeath's Corner. Bit of a nightmare. For Christmas, I received I'm really into my jigsaw puzzles. And on my kitchen wall, I have 1,000-piece Death Star jigsaw in a frame above my kitchen cooker. And it looks amazing. And so for Christmas, my girlfriend got me the Millennium Falcon one, which is 1,000-piece. And I've got a place in the porch where I can frame it and hang it. So I've spent about between 10, 12 hours on it over the weekend to, get it done. I want to get it framed and up on the wall. Yeah, so I spent about 12 hours this weekend doing it. It's on a block of wood, so that I can move it and maybe adjust it or whatever. Put it underneath the settee. You got an unfinished jigsaw puzzle on a piece of plywood. Slide it underneath the settee to keep it away from any of the dogs, the many dogs that I have. But stupidly, I was doing the puzzle today, and it was on the piece of plywood. And so I went down my brother's to play a game of darts, and then the daughter video called me and said, well, I heard a big bang and I've come downstairs and your 1,000 piece Millennium Falcon jigsaw puzzle is all over the floor. You've had a 52 card pickup. This is a 1,000 piece jigsaw Millennium Falcon fucking pickup. The dog had stood on. What my dog does, she's 9 or 10 years old, and you leave the house, she tries to climb up on the table and look out the window and see what you're doing. Oh, no. But she's climbed up on the table. Obviously, maybe the plywood wasn't centralized, so she stood on the edge and just tipped the whole puzzle, 1,000 pieces, all over my kitchen floor. This jigsaw as well it's an odd shape, obviously, the Millennium Falcon. So the outside, you obviously do the edges when you do a jigsaw, but most of them don't fit together. You just place them together, and then the second row, this is really boring, the second layer will hold the outside pieces together. So it's been a real nightmare just to get the edges and various bits going. And no, my dog just fucking tipped it all over. So it's all gone back in the box. And I'll tell you what, get fucked. Fucking lovely. My best Christmas present. And it's all gone to fucking shit. Oh, no. Anyway, love ya. Bye. Bye.
Oof.
Oh, hey, it's gone past 3 minutes.
Oh, he found out my secret. He found out my secret, damn it.
Well, the thing is, what I'm going to redeem it with is I've just borrowed a saw off my brother. So an Irwin saw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this bit of wood down to perfect size. So it would just fit on a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. But the daughter did get me for Christmas an AC/DC jigsaw puzzle, which is like a collage of all the AC/DC albums and things like that. So I think, because I'm so pissed off with what's happened tonight, I think tomorrow I'm going to start an AC/DC one. I'll get that finished, put that in a frame, and then after that, I shall restart the Millennium Falcon, but I know I'm going to be missing a piece. There'll be 999 pieces there. But, I don't know. Do I sit there and count all the pieces? Is that sad? I don't know. I think I'm sad anyway, moaning about a fucking jigsaw puzzle, but, it's like a game, innit? You put so many hours into it, you want a result, and when it just gets fucked, it just pisses you off for a little bit. But anyway, yeah, I hope you're all right. I've been a bit... well, anyway. Right, love you all. Take care. Enjoy. Everyone getting back to work, I suppose. Yeah, great. Anyway, I'm going to leave you now. Love you. Bye. Bye. Yo.
The jig's up. I increased the time. I didn't tell him. The secret's out.
The moment of realization was fantastic.
Oh, that was priceless. I'm going to make that a cutscene. I'm going to make that a soundbite for later. Oh, it's gone past 3 minutes. Look at that. Oh, okay. I can talk somewhere. I love it. Uncle Scumdeath. I love it, man. Thanks for sending your message in. Can't wait to see the next one or hear the next one, man. Thank you. Hope everything is well over there in the UK. All of our UK brothers and sisters. Hope everything's doing well over there. We're getting just crazy storms through America right now. The whole nation's under ice, it seems. Just really bad storms this week. So everyone be safe out there. Remember, as you're playing Lightfall, remember to take breaks, get outside and touch some grass. Rasagul. Remember, we're Guardian Downcast. Your stories, your community, your destiny. And be good to your fellow Guardians in the Destinyverse.
Defeat is not surrender, Guardian.
Thank you all so much for listening. And later, Guardian.
Later, Guardian.
Perfect. Nice. Perfect end to a perfect show. You know what? I've always had a little game in my head. How long will it take for Uncle Scumdeath to realize that he can have over 3 minutes to talk? I won't tell him the truth. I won't tell him how long he does have. I'll let him guess. Because he doesn't want to be cut off.
By your reaction, it seemed like you were waiting on that one for a while.
Yeah. It's been a while. He would always look at his clock. I think he would time it and go, "Oh, 3 minutes is coming. Okay, everybody." Yeah. That was priceless. I'll definitely have to keep that soundbite. Well, thanks again, man. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for all the games. And don't be a stranger, man. We'll definitely get some more games in the future.
For sure.
Yeah, make sure you share the link with your friends so they can hear you.
Oh, for sure.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah. I've been telling them about the crew and everybody. It's funny because they're so touch and go. You know what I mean? Like I've got my one buddy, and then I've got the girl from Scotland I was talking about with the wall of dicks.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one that got me back into it, and it's funny because she has a new girlfriend. She's like, "Hey, do you want to help us get her up to speed?" And I said, absolutely. I've been looking for a reason to get back into the game.
Definitely.
You've just given me a reason. And then she fucks off. So I'm in the game now.
Try and wait to help her. Yeah.
I got one buddy that's in it as well. So that's kind of what I was saying. We were two men and whatnot, but it's been good. But
you got hundreds of friends now. Anytime you want to play something, set up a game, man. Question for the blackest of birds. How would you compare loot drops between Destiny 2 and Destiny 2, meaning let me just read it again.